Cool. We're back! Time for take 2 of Trials of Cold Steel. You've heard me do this before, but in case they want to cut the VOD differently, here we go. This is Trials of Cold Steel 3. It's being run by TheEndd. We've got awesome commentary from Acid Stingray. You're about to see Sonic Fast RPG gameplay. We're going to see menuing real quick. We're going to see all kinds of awesome stuff. Take it away.
Oh. Alright, well, I guess we do the countdown again. So, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's go again. So yeah, this is Cold Steel 3 on Turbo. Oh yeah, well, I guess we didn't explain what settings we use for Turbo. Basically, it's 2 Turbo on the field and 6 Turbo for the bells. Any higher on the field is a bit too fast that you might end up running into every encounter.
Yeah, the game goes up to 6 selection set, but previous games on console only went up to 2, so the rule was to just only go up to 2, and we've kinda kept that. Going over the games. Once again, this is a tutorial. The main thing to explain here is just this game starts in the middle of the game. This is technically chapter 3 right now. So even though it's technically a tutorial, we're not getting taught much. This might seem a bit out of left field. Basically, things that are happening, they'll get introduced little by little later on.
Yeah, it looks pretty weird when you get access to almost everything the game lets you use, and then it's basically gone in the next 2 fights.
It's actually slightly annoying to be given so many options at the start and you don't know how to use them, at least in my opinion, but some people like it. Okay, so we're gonna do the prologue again. Once again, this first fight just simply tells you how to attack. The next fight will tell us how to use spells, but the spells in this game are a bit slow because they don't come out instantly, basically. That's the main mechanic. You first tell the character to cast a spell, and then the character has a wait time up until he actually gets the spell ready and uses it. And then there's the actual delay after using the spell. So it has twice the delay, I wanna say. That's not quite accurate, but it's a good way of explaining it, basically. So we're just gonna attack those guys to death, then open this chest, which is forced by the way, and start this next fight. This fight tells us how to, this character, the pink-haired character, she's called Yuna. She has 2 battle modes. It's basically a tutorial on her battle modes. Basically, she has a range battle mode, which gives her less damage, and I don't know if it actually changes her defense, I think so. And then she has a melee battle mode. And this was going to teach us about Link's attacks, which is basically, in this game, every time you attack an enemy, you have a chance to get what is called an unbalance. An unbalance is going to give us bravery points, which are really important because they are used for a lot of things. More about that later on, probably. And it's also going to give us an extra attack, basically. Those are actually kind of important because, Link attacks are a lot of damage, and also when you break an enemy, which is a mechanic you're seeing right now, you see that these enemies have their head down, even though they are slime, so they don't have a head, but you get me. You get a guaranteed break or unbalance every time you attack a broken enemy. And then finally, this is a tutorial on the classic anime game Final Attack, which the interesting part about final attacks or S-breaks in this game is that they don't care about turn order. You can always queue up an S-break or final attack or however you want to call them. The game calls them S-breaks, so I'll refer to them as S-breaks. You need 200 craft points, which are the skill points in this game, to do them, or just 100, but the 200 ones are noticeably more powerful, so we usually default to the 200 ones. Especially on this game, in Cold Steel 1, it's only 50% more strength. In this game, I'm pretty sure it's way more than 50% from the testing I've been doing when I was learning the run. And then this is the fight that we were talking earlier about how it's really tough. This time around he gets a really good turn order, so he clears it easily. But basically the point is that enemies in this game have a tendency to enrage or enhance, how the game calls it. And every time they enhance, they usually heal. So there's a tough balance between... Well, in this fight especially, because the enemy literally can't die until he enhances because there's a tutorial. But in other fights, you want to get the enemy as low as possible to enhance him, because you want to kill the enemy. But at the same time, once he's like on the threshold, you just want to burst him down, because otherwise he's gonna heal, and usually he's also gonna buff, which makes killing him even harder. So fights are a bit of a balanced act usually between the burst you can do and the cheap damage you have to do anyway. And right here is just, let's say, I don't really know how to call it. This game is divided between, let's say, fight sections and then quest sections, just like Cold Steel 1 was. Cold Steel 2 has way less of this, which is why I mostly prefer it as a run, but this game does have a bunch of it. So you'll see us walking around a bunch, just talking to NPCs, doing force quests, and basically just trying to progress the story. Right here, we just have to visit our students in the dorms, just say, hey, how are you holding up? Deliver their IDs, if I recall correctly, and then we go to sleep.
Okay. So for some reason, you can turn the camera when the game is loading.
And here, we're just gonna get a tour of town, basically. Like, we're supposed to go to every single shop or the cathedral or basically every building in town, and the game's gonna tell us, hey, this is what this building does, even though, this is the third game in the Coastal series and even more advanced than just the Trails universe in general, so you probably have an idea of what the buildings do by now. Doesn't really matter, the game's gonna tell you anyway. And yeah, for a chat, he's walking so fast. I explained this at the start, but in case you're coming in, the main feature of this speed game is that the game has a literal speed up button where you can go between 2 and 6 times as fast. We're going twice as fast for the run. Also, we're picking up a side quest here. For anyone who runs some other speed games, like for example, I don't know, Final Fantasy 13 is one of the most familiar runs I'm most familiar with. A lot of other JRPGs don't pick up side quests. This side quest is both really quick, it's literally just 2 fast travels, and also it gives us around 10,000 of the currency, which we're gonna be really starved for money on this run. We're actually, the ways we get money in this run are not great, simply because we need so much money that we basically have to get every single way, even the not great ones. Let's say that the quest is by far one of the best ways we have to of getting money.
Well, now we're dueling.
Yeah. This is a mini game the game has. It's called Blade. No, this is not Blade, right?
No, I think it's different. I forgot the name too.
Yeah, Blade is the Coastal 1 and 2 ones. This is Vantage Masters, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, chat saying Vantage Masters too. This is awful. Let's just leave it like that.
It really is awful.
Like, the AI doesn't want to attack you with the 2-1 cards that you're seeing, because those are technically like defenders. So the more defenders the guy gets in place, like, the more turns you're gonna take, even though it should not be like that. And it's just awful. Right here we just sell our stuff since we're right next to the shop, and we buy 6 accessories that gives us, I believe it's +5 speed, it might be +4. Basically we just buy a speed.
It is +5 speed.
Oh, okay. We just buy speed accessories. And now we're just gonna advance the main story by talking with Altina there. We skip the equipped accessories and we're gonna actually start like the fight section of the prologue here.
Well, prologue is actually over. It's chapter 1 now.
Well, yeah, this is technically true. Something interesting to note here is when you break these pillars, you get craft points, which, are, like I said, are this game's skill points. But the amount you get is both random, and also if you're in turbo mode, you don't break all the pillars for some reason. So he's gonna let go of turbo there, just so he can farm enough craft points to S-break this fight.
No, accurate. That's actually 60 FPS each. On 120, you break everything.
Wait, dude, FPS are busted in the
yes.
game. They run the game faster, and also you don't have to let go of turbo.
I got unlucky. I cannot reach that. I need for CP out of somewhere. Oh, did the follow-up attack.
You're
nice.
fine. Okay. And yeah, once again, he gets the craft points and S-breaks the fight to clear it. We're heading over to the first, like, actual boss, I wanna say, like the non-prologue one. And here we're gonna craft a spell, basically. A lot of these fights, like the modus operandi of our fighting bosses, I want to say, is mostly gonna be we buff a character and then we use them as our damage dealer. Here we crafted Saintly Force, which is a big buff basically. The game has small, medium, and big buffs. Or large, which is how the game calls them. Saintly Force is a large attack and magical attack buff, so it's a really good spell basically, and we just put it on Millium and we just rip with here, and the boss kinda dies. And next up, we're gonna have mech fights, which is a completely different kind of fight. Essentially, the way mech fights work is that you have one target, sometimes
I messed
more.
up there. Whoops.
That's fine. But basically, you have a target, and every target has different parts where you can hit it, and the parts have different unbalanced, like percents. When you unbalance, you get the second attack, so you obviously wanna unbalance as much as possible. These fights are really easy so far because there's a single target. As the game advances, there's fights with like 3 targets, and those are, let's say, a big mess, basically. It's really hard to keep those under control if you don't do everything like exactly as it has to go. We cleared those mech fights, and now we are actually heading to like the game is divided in, let's say, 2 sections every chapter. First, you have like the school section, where you clear some quests for a school, and then you go to the cape like we did and do a fight. Like the boss we fought and the pillars, etc. That was what the game calls the cape. And then there's like a field section where you go out somewhere in the empire that the characters live in, and then you do some more quests, and you usually face some kind of threat that is threatening the empire or threatening something else, but usually it's just empire. This time around, we go to the field section by now. We do the train. Something important to note about the train is that there's a shower in the train. And the shower is interesting because it gives you 100 craft points for free every time you use it. So we just kinda used it to farm the craft points. You see, or you saw rather, that Shin took a shower and now he has 200 craft points, which is gonna be really useful for the first, I don't know if I wanna say boss, because it's not quite a boss, but definitely hard force fight that we're gonna have to take.
The nice thing about the showers is that you can also speed them up. Like compared to the in rests we used to do in the previous runs, we still do some of them in this run, but we cannot speed them up because there's the music cue that has to end before the cutscene proceeds.
Yeah, ins are both slower and they cost money, but sometimes you don't. Like right now, for example, if Shin tries to fast travel, the game's not gonna let him return to camp to shower. So we'll be forced to end after we use our craft points. And yeah, pretty much what chat said. We just shower twice to make us powerful. Here we're gonna buy weapons with the money we got from doing the 10,000 Mira of quests that I said. And we head out onto the field, basically. This is still... We have to visit the inn, because for some forced dialogue, but right there is the field. We're heading over to the forest to collect some herbs, if I recall correctly. Forest is slightly annoying, I want to say. Basically,
yeah, because
go ahead.
go on.
Let's just say that the pacing is kinda weird in the forest, and also the last fight is not RNG, like it's not quite RNG, but if you get a bad turn order, which is unlikely, sometimes you can see things get out of hand, and you have to improvise a bit.
Well, I got too close in that fight.
And yeah, something interesting, I haven't talked about it at all. The Trails, let's say, series, saga, I don't know. One of the main things of the Trails games that in fights, you get what is called AP bonuses, which is every turn has a chance to get a special effect. Like for example, sometimes you get a turn where you're guaranteed a crit, or a turn where just by starting the turn, you get 50% of your HP back. And in some dungeons like this forest, you get even more effects. Like in this forest, for example, you get both Death Flow, and sometimes some turns will restore you 100 craft points for some reason.
Alright, can I spot them all? This is the hardest part of the run. Spotting the lavenders.
We just have to collect these blue herbs, and it's really annoying.
Yeah, you either look at the minimap or try to see them on the screen, which is really difficult.
And yeah, here he'll do the ingress because, like I said, he's barred from going to the camp right now, so we don't really have a better option to get our craft points back other than the ingress, even though it's like slow and takes time. It's by far faster than trying to do any one fight without having the craft points too. We're gonna have to do a bit more of the story here. We're just gonna deliver the quest, and we meet an old classmate. And something that is going to be really, let's say, like a trend through the game is that we just bought 19 of a food. You really force feed people in this run.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of eating.
Yeah. Like, I don't know how these characters don't gain weight because it's not as much, like, you don't do it as much as Cold Steel 2, and I don't think Cold Steel 1 either, but I didn't run that one. But in the Trails games in general, as far as I know, you really feed characters because some foods give you craft points back. So when you can't eat rest and when you can't shower, you just eat all the food and then you get your rest break back, basically. With that fight, it's really easy. You literally just break it and they die, and then force cutscene and we just go right back to the town. Can I ask what the incentive is? Because I actually don't know. And people are saying McBurn and I'm getting excited. Is it just actually killing McBurn like on the Stargazer's
Yeah,
tower?
the chapter 2 end fight where you can lose them Demon McBurn fight, well, that's an incentive to win the fight since it's a bit tricky.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun to do, not gonna lie.
Like, it requires some setup, but it's not that difficult once you have the setup set up properly. And the other one is the Aurelia Mac fights in chapter 3. You also lose those fights in the normal run, but that's incentive to win those.
All right, just to cut in here to give an update. We have met the Aurelia mech fights. We are definitely doing that. Okay.
All right. Okay.
And currently, the Demon McBurn fight is sitting at $116.89 out of 200. But the Demon McBurn fight is first. That's in chapter 2. The Aurelia stuff is in chapter 3. So if you want to see these guys fight Demon McBurn, get your bids in now. Sorry to cut in there.
Yeah, it is fine.
Completely fine.
It's shopping time now.
And yeah, we just we go over to another town in the same area of the Empire, and now we are just gonna pick up some more quests here. Well, we're not gonna pick them up. We're just gonna do them like force quests here, and we're gonna shop a bunch. Basically, we crafted one more Stanley Force, which is this spell I said that gives you large both attack and special attack buffs. And we're gonna refine our weapons to make them even stronger, buy some master courses, which is something I'll explain later, and just sell the remaining of some stuff just to get money. Also buy some armor here.
Yeah, we mostly buy the armor because of the free speed it gives. Like, speed is really important stat in the speedrun.
Yeah, it really is. Like I said, Tune Order is random, so we wanna set it in stone as much as we can, basically. Like, speed affects it, it doesn't guarantee it, so we wanna get as many chances as possible to get a more or less set Tune Order to plan around. Anyway, right now Ichin's heading towards one of the worst fights of this chapter. For me, it's by far the worst fight in this chapter. I don't know if he agrees or not.
I do agree. Okay, that's reasonable.
Yeah, that's a good Tune Order.
Oh, Tina is... I don't know what this guy gonna do. Okay.
Basically, the way this fight works is that these guys die to 3 S breaks, but they also can both debuff you and seal you. Seal is basically a status effect where you can't attack or use crafts, you can only use spells. And debuffs are just debuffs, you do less damage. So if you get either thing, you have to cure it before you can actually S break and win the fight, basically. So it's annoying because it's a fight that can go really quickly if you get a good Tune Order, but it can also go really wrong if they both attack and just debuff and seal your entire party.
One more thing about that is, in this game, you cannot interrupt the first turn anymore. So if the enemy goes first, it will always perform its turn. You cannot interrupt with ice crafts anymore, unless you retry the fight.
Yeah, it's really weird because in the other coastal games, in 1 and 2, you can definitely throw an ice break in the first turn, and then the turn order barely matters. And speaking of master courses, because they're gonna be relevant now, master courses are basically just big stat buffs that also have an effect. Like for example, we have Kaleido Cubes right now, which is it gives us different stat buffs. Every master course gives you different buffs to attack, speed, whatever. And then Kaleido, for example, gives us more Sepith, which is what you use to craft the small quartzes, the small spells or buffs, etc. And something real important about magic courses in this game, and both really powerful and really annoying, is that they are bugged in a way that if they level up, master courses have levels, right? They get XP just like characters do. And if they level up mid-fight, for some reason your character's, let's say, status, like the HP, the EP, and the craft points, get reset to what they were before the fight. So we can abuse that to just have 200 CP and be able to S-craft or use our ult attack twice in a row.
Unfortunate, we gotta restart the fight.
Yeah, that really is unfortunate. Back to an order. But basically what we're gonna do here is that we're gonna buff ourselves, we're gonna use the S-crafts, and we're gonna go all the way to 0 craft points. But because our master quartz is gonna level up, when the fight ends, we're gonna be back to 200 without having to hit or anything. And that's really handy, but it's also really annoying because it means that during the entire run, we're gonna be managing XP down to like, let's say the hundreds. Like it's really important that you always get the same XP multipliers, because if you get an extra one, your master course will level up earlier, and if you get, like if you miss one, your master course will level up later and you need it. And then you won't have your craft points when you need them and you will simply die. So XP management is a really important part of this run because of that. Here we just S-break these guys and then this section ends. We're heading over to the last day of this chapter. This is by far the shortest part of this run, of this chapter. But we basically just have to equip sub quartzes, which is a new mechanic in this game. Every character can have up to 2 master quartzes equipped, which is why the master quartz glitch is also so useful, because you can have a good master quartz equipped and then you can just kinda level up another one for when you need it. And then we just head over to the place where the chapter ends. There's a couple of fights.
Sorry to cut in. We've had a couple of people ask, when is the cutoff for the chapter 2 incentive? How long would you say?
Like 20 minutes?
20 minutes? Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Sorry. Carry on.
Alright.
Yeah, sounds 20 minutes to enter the tower. Sounds pretty fine. Anyway, we're just getting over to the place. There's a couple of bad fights in a way like that, but we just break them and they die. No, never mind. I was gonna say something that's actually wrong. But basically just a bunch of fast travels. After this, we get put back in the camp, and guess what? We just shower again to get all of our craft points back. So basically, we just did S-breaks on those fights that you saw, like the bad ones, because we are able to get our CP back anyway, so it's by far the fastest way to clear it. Like here, we just walk over to car 4, then shower twice, and tada, we have all of our craft points again. Here you have to walk a bit, but in reality, just fast travel. And
I could have fast traveled that. Well, what the hell?
these things happen.
We have time anyway.
By the way, just as a side note, Shin is going on a horse. The horse sucks. I just wanted to get that out of the way.
No, the horse does not.
The horse is awful. Like, the horse is really awful.
The bike is worse than horse.
That doesn't mean the horse is awful.
No.
Anyway, we get Agat for this section. Agat is a character that is in the Cold Steel games, but is actually in the Sky games. I have not played the Sky games, which is something Chad will probably want to kill me for, but let's just say that Agat is a cool guy and also he's really strong. And we're gonna do some Master Course Mike here so that we can Ace break with Laura, not this fight, but the next one, and then the Master Course will level up, and it will be as if we did an Ace break, she'll still have the craft points. So basically we can just kinda Ace break every single force fight up until the boss, and it doesn't really matter. This one, like I said, we Ace break with Laura, and then Oberon levels up, so tada, she has 200 CP still.
Convenient, convenient, but at the same time annoying when you have to do a lot of menuing with the Master Quartzes.
Yeah, basically. Like it's really powerful, but it's also really annoying to be routing this, taking into account just how much experience every single Master Course has, and then if you get a crit, for example, in a fight and you miss a double kill, which is a multiplier, your experience is out of whack, and suddenly you are forced to like improvise a bit. We're heading over to the final boss of this game. No, of this game, sure, of this chapter.
Yeah.
Chapters always have a formula like final boss-ish thing, where you fight an actual boss as people, and then there's a mech fight. This boss as people is kinda easy. We just break them, and then we use Dragonfall, which is gonna be a damage increase, and they die basically. And then in comes the mech fight. This mech fight is annoying in a way because it also, let's say, it's an experience check. If you don't level up on the fight that we just did, like the actual people boss fight, you don't have enough HP to actually clear this first part because your mech's stats are based off Rion's status, or rather
Level.
stat, like level, yeah. Not the stats, because if you boost stats with like equipment, it doesn't matter, it's just the level. That's actually a really big part of the Cold Steel 2 runs, because Green is by far our least level character on that game. In this game, Green is probably our highest level character, so
Whoops,
it's not nearly
that
as
was the wrong part.
big deal. I think you're fine. Question mark?
Yeah, it's just gonna take a while.
Essentially, in this mech fight, you just wanna do unite attacks, which are attacks you can do once you get 5 bravery points. Like I said, bravery points are really important. You get 1 bravery point every time you unbalance an enemy, and you do a follow-up attack. And then you spend them to either use orders, which are party-wide buffs, I wanna say. For example, you have orders that just gives you more attack, orders that give you more speed, orders that give you more break damage. There's a lot of different orders in this game. There's orders that, for example, negate your damage taken, or just reflect it straight up. There's a lot of different orders. And then the other use for them is big attacks like Rush, Burst, and in mech fights, Unite. And basically, a way to clear that fight is to just buff Rina up and then just unite with him a couple times. That's chapter 1 done. We're heading over to chapter 2.
That wasn't a good fight. I messed up that order.
I mean, you cleared it, it's okay.
Yeah. Like you want to use your Unite attack the moment you get 5 BP right on Rian. But if you delay that, then it takes like Rian like 2 more turns, since like for example Kirk gets an hour 2 turns in between that time. So you really just extend the fight a bit for too long. But it happens if you don't get the old imbalances, since imbalances are like sometimes 75%.
Yeah, imbalances in mech fights are a bit annoying because, like I said, different parts have different chances to unbalance. Every time you attack a part, the game rolls and then it says whether you unbalance or not. And most mechs have a guaranteed part you can attack for an unbalance, but also quite a bit of them don't. So you're just kind of praying that the RNG is gonna normalize itself and you'll get an average amount of unbalances. Here we take the bath just to get more CP again. And then we are introduced to X-Orbs, which are essentially just equipment for the mech. Like they are literally just stat buffs for the mech.
I
dies.
should remember.
You really should laugh, because now I'm worried, basically.
I mean, it's not bad if you forget that I craft that orb just for damage consistency. Sometimes damage rolls really annoying.
Consistency is like good though.
Yes.
Anyway, like I said, this game is kind of formulaic. We're back in the school, so we're doing quests for the school, and the quest that we always have to do for the school is just clearing a keep level. Here he does a big master course menu. Once again, it's mostly just for the glitch, just to set them up for them to level up at 200. There's also, some of this is also for either damage or having different spells equipped, but most of it is just setting up the 200 level ups. We're also gonna take a random fight here. Well, first there's a force fight, but after that we're gonna take a random fight just because we want to level up, basically. This area is like...
update.
No, go ahead.
We've met Demon McBurn.
Well, good
So
to
we
know
are
that.
going to be fighting
Good luck.
Demon McBurn. We're going to be doing the Aurelia fights. Have fun with that.
We will.
Your
And
definition of fun is gonna
I
screw-
have a metric ton of donations to read if you get any time, just so you're aware.
Yeah, okay. There's a lot of downtime, like in different sections, so I'll just let you know.
Cool, let me know.
For now, this section is just we walk around the dungeon, and this dungeon is not like, it's by far not the most annoying dungeon, like in terms of layout.
Okay,
Usually
well,
fine.
I did buy an additional one, so actually, I'll just use it in chapter 4 then.
Yeah, usually fine.
I want to use it on this fight since it makes the fight way more consistent with the buff.
I mean, yes, but also we started doing that like last week, so it's definitely doable without the buff. Anyway, that's what I'm just trying to say is that this room dungeons layout is slightly annoying. Not the most annoying. There's a lot of more annoying dungeons, but it's definitely up there. We're just gonna many of it. We open slots, which are places we put quartzes in. Basically, like I said, the stat buffs or different spells. And then we just stack speed and Rin, because in this fight, Rin is gonna be by far our main damage dealer, and we want him to get as many attacks in as possible because of how much damage he deals, basically. Rin is a big damage dealer along like through the entire game, simply because he's our highest level unit usually. Like he's higher level than the students for sure, and then when the other class joins, he's not quite as over leveled, but he's still quite decent. So here we assess with Rin to clear the ads, and then this fight has a very set, let's say, flow to it. Every character has something to do. First you wanna heal with Kurt, just so you don't immediately die. And then you wanna break the boss by using a Sledgehammer, which gives you more break damage when you break with both Rin and Altina. And then Windblade gives you more speed, or less delayed rather. So you can just get a lot of Rin and Kurt attacks in to both farm BP and also to just actually like get damage in, so you can then burst him down with the finalist breaks like that.
Okay, that was good.
That's by far, yeah, that's the hardest fight in the run, I want to say. Definitely
Yep.
the most annoying. Like if the turns go wrong, sometimes you just die, or you don't get enough CP to S-break, or you just don't do enough damage with the link attacks on Windblade. I believe
The
that's
accurate, I did not forget it.
it's so good. This mech fight has 3 mechs, and like I said, mech fights are really easy when there's only one target. When there's 2 targets, they are a bit annoying. When there's 3 targets, they just go completely out of hand if you don't know what you're doing. Like, a bad step here means you don't get bravery points, and then you don't get your united attacking time. And then there's 3 different targets where you're just gonna get an extra turn. Let's say that when you get 3 extra enemy turns, you're not doing great in a speed game that is quite as tight as this one. Thankfully, it looks like it's going pretty well.
It wasn't the
So-
fast one, but it was alright.
That should be this chapter. Well, not this chapter, like the school part of this chapter. I keep trying to call the chapter over, the game over. I keep trying to just end the run for some reason. And once
And
again,
you just wanna go that fast.
yeah, 300 FPS, go.
You mean 500?
But yeah, the video's not cooperating a bit, but basically you're not missing much. It's just the classic formulaic thing we did on the earlier chapter. We just get on the train, we talk to a lot of people, and eventually we get set on the field, which this time around is Crossville. Crossville is the place where the Trails from Zero and Trails from Azure games take place. So if you're a veteran to the Trail series, you know them. If you aren't like me, I haven't played either of the games. Let's just say that they are actually a pretty cool place. And there's some callouts to the earlier games, which if you've played, you probably enjoy. If you don't, you get to meet all of these new cool characters.
Yeah, I think playing just Zero is enough to appreciate this chapter like a lot more. Can say about AO since I haven't played that one. Okay, so we're gonna try to raise an NPC here. It's not really a challenge, it's just for fun. There's one delivery boy that has really high movement speed. And you can see him here trying to zoom with me, but I still won. Other games had NPCs like that as well. I think this is the first time I saw Cold Steel do it.
Mm,
But yeah, the usual stuff again, exploring the city and doing some work.
yeah, even if stream is kind of frozen, you're not really missing all that much for now. We're just doing quests, like first quests. We don't get into the actual dungeon for quite a bit. So we're just picking up quests here and there. We don't even do any optional quests here. So it's just strictly first quests alongside the story that we're talking to people, and then we're also visiting Crossville. If I recall correctly, we just kind of go to different buildings, and we were told, "Oh, here in Crossville, this building does this."
And I know it's being addressed in the chat, but we are working on fixing it. Please bear with us.
Yeah, it's fine. Like I said, we're not really missing much right now. It's just visiting the town, being introduced to different NPCs, and just getting through different cutscenes.
Oh, we're getting in a dungeon now.
Oh, you're
I'm just
already in
gonna...
Geofront?
Yep.
The Geofront is kind of a labyrinth-ish dungeon, I want to say. It has a lot of different paths, but in reality, once you know the layout, it's really easy to clear. Interesting thing, like I want to say the most interesting thing for the Geofront is that you actually get to use Tio. Tio is a character that it's what this game calls a guest character. Technically, in Chapter 1, we had one, which was Major Claire, which is a character from the Cold Steel series, from the Ergonia arc. But in this, like, we basically don't get to use Claire in that section because she's along for the ride for literally, I want to say 30 seconds, basically. We never take a fight with Claire on our team. But let's discard it as Caroline White's Claire. I'm not so sure about that one, chat, but you do you. Anyway, for this chapter, sorry, we get Tio, which is a character from the Azure, like Trace to Azure and Trails from Zero games. Which, like I said, I haven't played, but they are the earlier games, like the earlier arc to this one, like the previous one. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. And we actually do get to use her because we get into this dungeon, the Geofront, with her.
But we don't use that actor. That's the backup strat.
Well, but it's there, you know. She's actually in our party. We could use her Brave Order if we wanted to. we don't because it's very expensive and it reflects damage done. So we would rather just not take the damage rather than having to reflect it. But it's there, you know.
Pretty sure the no S-craft root uses Theo here. Like no way you're skipping a 1% freeze art.
Yeah, Absolute Zero is a pretty good
I
skill.
repeat, we are aware there's a problem with the video, and we are working on it.
The attack is really not cooperating, but it's like it'll get sorted eventually.
Certainly force here.
Essentially, if you want to know what's going on, as if it was a radio for Rootcast, he's just going through the Geofront, which is these games like mid dungeon, those games, these chapters. I keep calling chapters games, dude. But it's these chapters, middle dungeon, and at the end of this, if I recall correctly, there's a boss like you saw at the beginning, the prologue, like a big mech kind of thing that we fight as people and not as a mech. He's gonna try to kind of burst that down in the same way that, well, not the same way, but like with the same idea as in the prologue. He's gonna try to get as close as possible to the edge for him to enrage, and then he's gonna break him and he's gonna burst him down with his breaks. It's spelled Yuna, but how do you say that in actual English? Because to me, it's spelled Yuna, just it's pronounced Yuna to me.
Yuna or Juna? I don't know.
To me, those things are literally the same.
Okay. No. Wait, this was on. Oh. Okay. Well, might have to be a bit careful with that. Since I did equip the wrong master quartz. Worst
Oh,
case scenario.
that's it.
No, this is for the McBurn fight.
For XP, you know.
So I might have to use the Sapphire one. We'll see.
Dude, I don't ask me how to do master courses because I literally don't know. I hate master courses.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Oh,
I didn't use the wine
videos back,
song.
sorta. You see that the boss is just basically a big mech, like we said. Like it's basically a prologue guy, but he's different. He's fatter.
Okay, well, the turn order was not in our favor this time anyway, so we'll have to retry.
Oh, okay.
We're having some technical difficulties with the restreaming. Please bear with us. We are working on them.
Whoops. Okay.
But basically, once he's done with this fight, which, like I said, is like the way to clear this fight is very standard. Like I said, you just get the boss as low as possible without enraging him. Then you break him to do more damage, and then you just burst him down with his breaks or final attacks. I believe that's the first state done, if I'm not completely being wrong. Like, there's definitely not another dungeon on the first day at the very least. And then after that, you have to go collect some flowers, which will be our first. I believe it's the first scripted fight that we're gonna do in this game.
Okay, well, gotta figure out how I wanna do this with the master quartzes.
Master Wars Math live on stream sounds kind of hard. I believe in
Yeah.
you. You can retry
Uh,
Demon McCurrent, right? Like if it goes wrong, you can still retry it, or
yeah, I
does it
can.
immediately advance?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess I. Okay.
Perhaps this would be an excellent time for me to fill with some donations.
Sure.
Yes.
No. I could be here for a minute. So we had a bit of a donation train there to try and get some of these met. As I've said, please bear with us. We're working on getting the backup servers working. So I'm gonna do some donations here. And it all started with a $60 donation from the Altar Maven, who said, in these trying times, remember to take care of yourself and make sure to set time aside to enjoy the things you love, like video games. And why not donate for a great cause? Let's meet those incentives. We then had Tiny Tim. Hey, Tim. Donate $41.89. I feel like he was trying to make a play for Team Order there. You won't defeat Team Chaos that easily, Tim. He said, hey all, donating for the amazing Trials of Cold Steel 3 run. Good luck to all the runners. And shout outs to the legend himself, Bob the Ninja Golf. Come on, Tim. You know I don't like doing that. Night Flyer donated $50 with no message. Thank you, Night Flyer. It's greatly appreciated. We then had a $175 donation from Schottenheim74. He said, knock 'em dead, Shinoa. This is a wonderful run to warm my heart with everything going on. Falcom represent. Twilight Dusk donated $15 with no donation message. Thank you, Twilight Dusk. Wolf. Shout outs to Wolf. I mentioned this at the beginning of the stream. He was meant to be hosting this run, but he's not feeling great. Everyone send your best energy and best love to Wolf in the chat, like right now. Make him feel good. And he sends $50 and says, gotta defend Vantage Masters as best mini game. Flying decks for life. I'm not sure how the runners are going to feel about that from what they were saying earlier, but
Questionable.
We then have $30 from Evan X_XC, who, once again, no donation message. Thank you so much for your donation to NAMI, Evan. And then $75 from Demon McBurn himself, who says, so, what'll you show me? Talon donated $83.11 and says, let's see that Demon McBurn fight. And that was the one that took us over the edge for that. And then Restox donated $100 flat and says, keep up the good work. And we absolutely will. We're still working on resolving the technical issues. So bear with us. And if you've not been with us before, we are Questing for Glory, Hope and Healing. We're an online speedrunning marathon running RPGs. We're going until Saturday. We're raising money for NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. All the VODs from Questing for Glory, Hope and Healing are going up on the RPG Limit Break YouTube channel, and they've been going up for a while now. We're actually quite a lot of the runs are up already. If you've missed anything, you can definitely go back and check that out when the marathon is over, because you're going to want to stay tuned for some of the cool runs that are coming up. Now, I told you all about the bids, which we've got for this one, which we've met both of the incentives, but there are always prizes available during the runs. And as Kaios is saying there in the chat, we are dealing with our tech gremlins as best as we can. Right now, the the PlayStation 3 bundle, our grand prize, as it were. At any point in the marathon, if you donate a total of $30 or more, it could be in increments of 10, it could be a 15 and a 25 or whatever, you will be entered into the drawing for a PlayStation 3 bundle donated by our own Professor Palmer. Now, this is a special PlayStation 3 bundle because it is one of the refurbished 60 gigabyte launch models. So it's backwards compatible. It comes with a controller. It comes with a copy of Ni no Kuni, which, if you know Professor Palmer, is a big duh. And it has also been fixed to prevent the yellow light of death. So that's well worth getting your bids in on. And then I think also around this time, we are, for $15, there is also a Sega Genesis Mini up for grabs, which is very, very generously donated by the Stevens family. Thank you very much to the Stevens family. An online marathon, you have these do want to say thank you to our foreign language restreams as well. It's a big deal that we've got both a French restream and a Japanese restream, which is really cool. It's crazy to me. Last time I was hosting, anytime I mentioned the Japanese restream, Keishiro would just start speaking Japanese, which kind of threw me off. It's quite funny. So how are you doing out there, chat? As we said, we are working on the tech gremlins. The online folk aren't cooperating too well today. Good to hear that you're doing all right. I'm doing well, Magus. Thank you. Considering the tacos were amazing. For those of you that missed it, there was a bit of a taco thing going on the other day. Yeah, it's been a good time. We've been the other day being yesterday. Yeah, it's true, Cog. When isn't a good day for tacos? That's true. That's true. So what have you got? What's been your favorite runs so far, chat? Ooh, that's a big milestone for Team Order. The donation total right now. Come on, Team Chaos. We can't let that stand. We good?
Yes.
It looks like we have some video.
Am I good to go now? Okay.
All right. We back in there, chat. Let's see some hype. And take it away, Shinoa.
All right.
So, picking up from where we left off, we cleared the small dungeon, the geofront. We killed mech, so to speak, and now we're going to go see some weird grass, which apparently is spawning what the game calls scripted. They're just, let's say, really big monsters, basically. Not man-made, because there's the other kind of monster in this game. It's just weird monsters. So we have the bike. The bike, like Shin said, is even worse than the horse. Let's just say that controlling vehicles in general is really hard in this game, and especially in Turbo, where you're dealing with it at twice the speed. And then bed is just this is a shower, basically. Like, it just gives you 100 CP. We do it twice, it gives us 200 CP. We're good to go to just burst people down right now. Essentially, we enter this cabin, then this, and now there's the grass there at the end. This fight is, I want to say slightly different, if this is the fight I'm thinking it is. Yeah. For this fight we get what we jokingly call Demon Prince Real, but the game calls Spirit Unification Ring, which is basically, my man is an anime character, so he has an anime power inside him. That's the I can give you. It essentially just gives him large buffs, like large speed buff, large strength buff, large defense buff, and it also upgrades his skills, both his final skill, his S-Break, and his normal skill. So he's gonna be dealing a lot of damage in this fight, because he also gets it like for the entirety of this fight. Usually it's a 3-turn buff, but right now it just lasts for this entire fight. So we're gonna be basically using him to do our DPS. We feed him in that fight, and we also just try to make his life as easy as possible so he can DPS for us. Once that's done, we just progress on the day. Is this fast forwarded? Yes, this is Turbo Mode. For those of you who are just joining in, this Speed Game's main feature is that it literally has a speed up button, basically. It lets you go from twice as fast to 6 times as fast. We do runs usually on either 0 times as fast, although there's no runners for that right now, or 2 times as fast, because earlier games on the first releases only let you go twice as fast, and we've just kinda kept that both for sanity, because 6 times as fast is like impossible to control, and just as a legacy thing. Right here we just kinda advance the story. We are invited to a party, and then the party gets invaded, I wanna say, with different man-made monsters, just creatures. And we're heading over to like, this section is weird is what I wanna say, because if you take an encounter here, you have to restart your game, basically. So Shane is gonna be very careful about not taking an encounter here, because restarting the game is also kinda bad in this game, because we have our life split component that removes loads, because we do have a load remover. Also, auto skips the fights for us instead of having to mash the start button, because that got really tiring, and also earlier games automatically skip the animations for you, so we just kind of wanted that back. But if you restart the game, it sometimes stops working, because I'm very bad at coding, basically. So he's really gonna try not to take an encounter and have to restart his game.
Well, this is an awkward turn order.
You have to deal, I believe it's 80% of his health in this fight.
It's almost 90.
Yeah, this is not a good in order for that, but I believe in Yushin.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, the idea is that the fight has been, let's say, hijacked. It's been attacked by Ouroboros, which is the Trails' universe main antagonist. And then we just kind of have to repel them, basically. By which I mean we just die to them, but for some reason they leave. This is McBurn. This is not quite Demon McBurn, but it is the same character. He just kinda kills us after we deal enough damage to him.
But yeah, for Enforcer Zero Campy fight, you can lose that fight and proceed, but on normal difficulty it's actually faster winning the fight. But on any higher difficulty, it would be definitely faster to lose the fight.
Great death for fast, yeah, same. And yeah, Force of Hero Zero is the small child with green hair that there was a weird turn order on. This is just more menuing. Like I said, Master Quartz menuing is basically a name of everyone because of the glitch that gives you your CP back once they level up. As the run advances, it becomes harder to level your Master Quartz, so we start eating more and using this glitch less. But for these starting chapters, we are definitely gonna be doing a lot of Master Quartz menuing, basically. We get some optional quests, we're just gonna ignore them, like ignore all of them. I don't think we ever do an optional quest anymore, unless I'm just missing one.
It might look like we might do optional quests later in the run, but that's because the game requests us to do at least 2 quests out of 3 that's available to proceed with the story.
Starting next chapter, rather than required quests, we get semi-required quests where you do 2 out of 3. Well, you can do all 3 if you're playing casually, but on a speedrun, obviously, we want to do as little as possible. And we're back in the Geofront. This is a dungeon that we kinda missed due to tech issues. It's not the exact same place, but it looked exactly like this, basically. It's just another part of the dungeon, I wanna say. The Geofront has different entrances if you've played Zero, and this is a different entrance to it. Or a different sector, like it says up there. I don't really remember what we're looking down here. I believe it's just the... Let's say the magic veins of the are looking really weird down here, so we're down here to investigate. After...
I think we're here to use a computer to hack into something.
Oh, right. Basically the idea is that we're just gonna clear the dungeon as normal. This, once again, the Geofront looks kinda tricky. Like the dungeon layout looks slightly tricky, but once you know it, it's kinda easy. Basically, like, it's confusing at first, but once you get a feel for the layout of it, it becomes way easier, it seems. And this is interesting. He walks up to there because there's a trigger that unlocks the fast roll point. So he just walks a bunch, hits the trigger, then leaves to the field exercise camp to shower, and then he can fast roll back. And we have to do this mech fight. Thankfully for this mech fight, we have Signal Operation, which is by far one of the best orders. Once again, orders are party-wide buffs that cost bravery points to use. Signal Operation both makes us attack faster, recovery times becomes the half, so we can get twice as many attacks in. It also gives us large attack and defense buffs to everyone. So it's by far one of the nicest orders we are gonna use. Unfortunately, we don't get Machias, who is the guy who has the order, that many times. But it really makes Machias go from a kinda useless character in Coastal 2 and 1 to a really useful one in this one. Not really because he's useful as a unit, just because his order is really, really nice. With that done, we've used the computer like Shin said, and we now know where we're supposed to go. We're gonna shower again because, you know, showering is good. Craft points are nice.
We literally just shower for Elisa since she needs just 1 more SCP.
And then we just go over to Stargaze's tower, which is where the computer tells us we have to go.
See, actually, this is why the bike sucks. You can't turn properly with that thing.
Yeah, the sidecar is a really big hitbox. And it also makes turning very annoying. It's optional on Coastal 2. You actually have to buy it, and we obviously don't buy it in the speedrun because it's resources that we can use elsewhere, but it's forced in this game for some reason. So the bike becomes really, really annoying. Anyway, Stargaze's tower is, like the name implies, a tower, which means it's a really vertical dungeon. You're gonna see us take a lot of stairs, basically. And also, the way it works is that, well, first of all, those enemies are really annoying because they have death blow, if I recall correctly. I think they are the same enemies as in Cold Steel 2, basically, where they can death blow in a line and then all your characters die from one hit and you're just cry, basically. Because when you die, you lose all your craft points or skill points. So then you're just... I don't want to swear on the channel that's not ours, but basically, it's not a good spot to be in.
Yep.
And also, Stargaze's tower has those switches that were, yeah, that one he just hit basically. The way he hit it, by the way, is what we call a field attack, or
Assault
actually I don't know
attack.
if it. Yeah, thank you. Essentially, every character has an attack that is usually ranged, but not always. It just always starts fights with like triple advantage, which is as good as an advantage that you can possibly get on a fight. And range is really ranged, so you can use it to walk less, basically. I don't think you can use it to hit switches that you wouldn't normally be able to. Like there's basically fake walls or invisible walls, but you can use it to walk less. And here there's like a mini boss. This fight is slightly annoying as far as I know. It's not terrible, but it's slightly annoying. We use Emma's S-Rig, which just gives us immunity to damage for 2 turns because we do it with 200 CP. And then her Master Course is gonna level up, which is really important because Emma's. Let's just say that Emma is the character that is most important to have craft points on. Because one of her skills is to give craft points to the rest of the party. So we can use her as kind of a battery, basically. So even though her Esbrig was used there, it was only used because we're gonna get our CP back with the Master Course glitch. Otherwise, we will pretty much never use Emma's Esbrig.
Alright, let's see how this goes.
At least as a CP battery, not anymore. Not in this game. Once again, we use Emma's S-Break to protect ourselves, and after this fight, we'll be seeing Demon McBurn. If you donated for that, like the incentive is met, so if you donated for that,
That's not good.
McBurn has so much health. How are you gonna save this?
By using arts.
I believe in you, dude.
Yeah,
Let's
don't worry.
Uh,
We'll get through somehow. Zero cast.
I don't think we're gonna be through. I think we're restarting the fight. Oh,
Does this get back the CP? It does. Okay,
It
we're good. We're good.
okay. So this is Demon McBurn. Usually you just die in this fight. The donation incentive got met, so Shin is gonna try to do it in a way that I've literally never seen. So I'm more like very interested. But this fight is hard because he starts by one-shotting you basically. Like that attack we just reflected is a one-shot, and after that he still deals a ton of damage. Thankfully you don't have to actually kill him, you just have to get the threshold. But the threshold is really low, I believe it's like 70% of his health. So you still have to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, you need a lot of preparation. If you go here blindly, you will always lose the fight. The S-Crab basically always goes through like any kind of buffs like reflections, except Emma's S-Crab for some reason.
Shin got the fight though, and now we're gonna do yet another mech fight. This is, like I said, the game's kind of formula-like in the structure. The mech fight is always the end of the chapter. The Red Ion is a bit annoying as far as I know. It's definitely not as annoying as the next Ion that we're gonna be fighting, but it flies. And when it flies, the only way to hit him is with Yuna's Gemini's Blast. Or with an arrow.
Always during runs. Never balanced 90%.
It's really
just marathon luck.
yeah. Like we said, sometimes you don't have 100% spot to balance an enemy, and then you just have to pray that RNG kinda gives you the average. Seems like the fight went well enough though. Things happen in this cutscene. At the end of the chapter, let's just say that things always hit the fan really hard, especially in this game, which is like, I don't want to say it's set up for Cold Steel 4 because I haven't played Cold Steel 4, so I don't know what Cold Steel 4 does, but it definitely feels like it's setting up a lot of plot threads. And in this chapter, we basically find out that a character was presumed dead. I'm not gonna say who if you haven't played the previous Cold Steel games. Is only like half dead, basically. It's kind of teased that he's not dead, but also not really. And our characters are really confused, basically. We'll skip the cutscenes anyway, so for all intents and purposes, you don't even know that our characters are confused because they're gonna behave completely normally in fights and stuff.
It's fun
And we're back on also like on the formula where this is chapter 3. We just have to go around the school, talk to a bunch of people. Eventually, we're gonna get given a quest that is clear at keep level, and after that, we'll go out to the field. I believe the parts we're visiting right now is basically there's been a new shop on the school and that kind of stuff.
Oh no, we missed 1 AP. Don't
Did
really
you
care
really
about
select
AP.
the wrong one?
You kind of need the AP for Dragon Vision Chapter 3, but that's about it.
I mean, you killed McVurn. You definitely have
Oh
more
yeah, I
than
do
XP.
get it. Yeah, alright,
I believe
fair
it's
enough.
5. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you get 5 AP, I think.
Yeah. So you're pretty much set for that. I can't believe Illumination incentives are actually saving Shin's mistakes.
Amazing, right?
Oh, this is interesting actually, I forgot. On chapter 3, you get both Ash and Muse, which are new characters. Because basically on chapter 1 and 2, they've basically been going off out of their own actual classes and just helping you out. So the school kinda gives up on them and just sets them on your class. Ash and Muse are, let's say, interesting units. Muse is a caster, Ash is basically just raw damage. And they are basically new to your party. I believe they are higher level than our actual, like, the units we've been using so far, other than Rin. Simply because, since they are new, they have a set level, and we're usually skipping fights, so our actual characters are under leveled. But
yeah, like
let's say
the
that
students will always be under leveled.
our actual characters are still kind of fine. Like you saw there that we use Kurt, SS Break, is to clear the fight. We're still gonna be seeing them used.
Another thing you might notice that, well, I didn't really technically show, but in this chapter we duplicate the Scorpio Master Quartz. So right now Rin has it on the first slot and Ash has it on the first slot as well.
Yeah, it's gonna work, but essentially the way Master Quartz work. Oh, by the way, this is once again, like I said, after that fight, Rin gets a buff. Well, rather the craft that is just let's say white hair. Basically, Spirit Unification is the name. Gives him high buffs and also improves his heals. Not his order, unfortunately. It really would have been nice, but it basically makes him from our main DPS to even more main DPS. Anyway, what I was saying is that we're still trying to manage Master Quartz XP, and the main Master Quartz gets more XP than the sub Master Quartz. I also don't really know what Scorpio does, but if I recall correctly, it's break damage to enemies.
Yeah, it's increased break damage.
Yeah. And break damage is really nice because when enemies are broken, they take more damage. And if you've been paying attention at all, you've noticed that we just kind of burst enemies down when they are broken. Like that's our modus operandi for these fights. So breaking the enemies quicker means that we get to our damage quicker, which means speed. Also, the Bens, he's clearing them quite nicely. Bens are really annoying to get through. Like, really annoying.
Are they? Maybe it's a controller issue.
I don't know, dude. It's like your movement is restricted, so you have to use the camera way too much.
Alright, time to open some slots.
Once again, if you missed the earlier chapters, quartz are basically small gems you can put in. They are crafted with the separate that is currently exchanging, and they give you their spells, skills, not skills, only spells or passive effects sometimes. Usually it's just status buffs though, the ones we're using. And the way you equip them is by having slots. You also have to open using Sepith. So Sepith is basically the second main resource, so there's a Mira, which is just the money we're using to actually buy stuff. Also, Sepith in this game is a bit scarce. It's not actually extremely scarce, but it's definitely more scarce than in previous games because it doesn't scale. Does it? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think it should be fine. Or maybe not. Yeah, we might have to retry. Let's see.
Yeah, I
how
don't even think you can fit him.
Okay, yeah, we gotta retry this.
Yeah, that's not the fail thing, he's gonna heal.
Yeah, you need to let him get a turn. I forgot about that.
Yeah, once again, the name of the game, or of the speedrun, is turn orders. Turn orders in Trails games turn set. In some other speed games, like, yes, your starting order is always your speed, basically. Like, higher speed characters always go first. In this game, higher speed means that you're more likely to go first, but not always. We don't actually know the equation, we just know that it's random. And that speed affects it.
Yeah, the worst part is if you do fail to kill the boss, they'll just heal up, and it kind of makes it pointless to finish off the fight. Might as well try. No, this should be better.
Also, something important to note, like I said, we got new characters. What I didn't mention is that our new characters don't have the wrist breaks, or the skills that we keep using to burst the enemies. Like, they are basically the strongest skills of the characters have, and also the ignore turn order. They didn't have them yet. In this game, ice breaks are unlocked as you progress with the story. Only Rin pretty much starts with his, and even then he unlocks it like midway through prologue. It's just that it's 5 minutes in. So I don't want to say that they are useless right now, but they are definitely a lot less useful than they could be if they had their breaks up until they unlock it. This actually happens later on in this chapter. Actually, we're gonna get Gaius, which is let's say he's an old character. He was in Gold Steel 1 and 2. He's a really good unit, but he's also extremely useless because he doesn't get his S-break up until the literal epilogue, up until the last chapter.
Okay.
So you just can't use him, basically. This Aurelia, good luck.
Game targeting is annoying. So, okay.
So is this the other donation incentive?
Yes, and there are 2 fights of this.
Yeah. This is the start, and then you also get, like, she basically is holding back this one, then goes all out.
Like, the first phase is the easy part. The second one is a bit more difficult.
Yeah. The first phase you can clear, like, casually without really thinking. Yeah. The second phase, even casually, you probably have to think.
There we go.
That should work.
Yeah, so the weird part about this fight is once you get through the threshold, you gotta wait. You gotta let her defeat you. Like, the fight doesn't end. Okay, nice
You
triple
just
kill
get-
there.
You just get AP if you hit the threshold. She still just kinda one-shots you with an S-break later on. And now, yeah, AP increased by 3, so he actually got it. And now, the actual fun starts, basically. We have 2 mechs instead of 3 like we had, and she's no longer holding back, so she's hard, basically. Thankfully, our mechs are buffed. Like, we have large strength and defense buffs. So it's not all bad, but it's still really hard.
It's not looking good.
Yeah.
Randy might be. Yeah, okay, we gotta retry.
Goodbye,
The
Randy.
second phase is so much more difficult if she does unbalance you like that too many times.
This fight is really hard. Like, I remember casually having to remember... In Coastal 2, there's the Nightheart fight, which is basically also a really hard mech fight. We tried to route that for the speedrun just for lols. And I remember casually having to pretty much introduce what I learned by routing Nightheart. Because this
Okay.
fight was pretty hard and I was kinda underleveled.
Will this break? Okay, it did with the.
If you're lucky.
Yeah, I got lucky.
Yeah. Breaks are tied to how much damage you do. How much damage you do is like in every game, in every RPG, there's a bunch of rolls basically, even in Pokemon.
There we
so
go.
with your break, those are technically rolls. Yo, he's so good. That's a clap from me. Yeah, AP increase. You have so much AP.
Yeah, I have like 10
You're
additional more AP.
You're gonna get Dragon Vision so early.
Not really, since you either turn in your quests or you just wait at the end of the chapter where you get it, or the day.
Yeah, makes sense.
Alright, it's showering time.
But yeah, once again, chapter formula, we cleared the school part. Now we're in the train going over to somewhere in the field, somewhere in the Empire, where we're gonna have to face a threat. So we just shower in the train, like always, talk to people, shower to get our CP back, and then we're set out in the field. This part is,
Akri dislikes it.
yeah, I don't know how to explain it other than that.
It is
Let's say,
selling time.
yeah. Basically, like I said at the very start, but I haven't said again, money is really tight on this speedrun, especially because there's an accessory we wanna buy, which is called Abyss Shadow, which prevents death blows, delays, something else I don't remember, and it also gives you, I believe it's 20 speed. We mostly buy it for the speed, because the speed is really important. The thing is, like, it's really, really, really expensive. So we end up doing this, where
Oh,
we just sell all of our old equipment.
I forgot to
and,
customize the weapons.
It takes a lot of time. It also gives a
Well-
lot of money though, so it's hard to route out.
Yeah, it's really difficult, since you do need the money.
We've actually been toying around with the idea of doing a quest in this chapter, which is really fast. You just have to... Basically, we're forced to go to the beach in this chapter to do a forest quest, and then if you grab the quest, there's like an extra thing you can grab there, and it gives you 13,000 money. But like, we need so much money, dude. It's hard to justify those 13,000 when we're selling quartz, and we don't really have the exact number that selling quartz gives us because we haven't like bothered to look at it, but we do believe it's a lot more than 13,000.
I
Or, well,
actually
like,
did remember to
you
look it
haven't-
up, and I forgot to do it.
Yeah. If you think the Rebel bike is the best waifu, you haven't tried controlling that 2x speed when speed running. It's really annoying, especially with the sidecar.
Marble
Much more
bike is
manageable.
fine without the sidecar, yeah.
Yeah, much more manageable on Coastal 2 or 1, where you don't have the sidecar, because your hitbox is like small, and also you turn better, basically you just turn better. With the sidecar you turn worse, and also your hitbox is pretty much a truck. It's actually kind of a strat in earlier games at least, where you will change to Fee on the field, because Fee has a smaller model, so she has a smaller hitbox. However, in this game we don't really do that, because you'll have to switch all the way to Altina, and if you notice, Altina is our last character. And every time you switch, your speed gets reset, so you're spending like a second per switch. It's not really worth it just to get a slightly smaller hitbox. We only switch to Altina when we're forced to, like on the prologue we switched to Altina to have the field attack that stuns enemies to get advantage, and also when we had to break pillars, because Altina's attack is what the game calls a strike. It's basically a blunt attack, and it both stuns and breaks things. Music got her S-break after the cutscene that we just skipped. However, Music, like we said, is a caster, so she doesn't deal as much damage as you may want her to deal with the S-break. Worth noting that Altina is also technically a caster, by which I mean I 100% used her as melee in my casual playthroughs, so it's hard for me to think of her as a caster, but her S-break is based off magic, apparently. Well, not even apparently, like the game just tells you that her S-break is magical. So strength buffs on her too much, basically.
Weirdly enough, that was the first strategy and the only strategy menu will ever do in the run.
The strategy menus are annoying. They used to be just a grid, where you say this character goes in this square. Now they are like, you just get a square and you get to distribute your characters wherever. So we don't do nearly as many. We just kind of play around with it. And yeah, this is the beach I was talking about. There's a turtle at the end. The turtle is annoying. That's the TLDR basically. Is this even a turtle? Like, I call it a turtle, but Doesn't really look like a turtle.
I don't think so. This is not. Wait.
It has a carapace, dude. It does have a bit too many legs to the turtle, though.
Giant isopod. I don't know. That's what it's called.
Anyway, the way to the fight is pretty much standard. We just buffering up with the Spirit Unification, which gives him strength and speed buffs, and also improves his skills. And then we just kinda another damage with Green dealing most of it. This thing looked like a gigantic. That actually is a good description. I'm still gonna call it turtle though. And after doing that, we see some suspicious people that we're following, which turns into an ambush basically. We're just gonna kill them dead basically. We just break them and they die. Just a classic really. Something important to note there is the order. We actually left Rin for last because, like I've been saying, Rin does a lot of damage, and also when enemies are broken, they take more damage. So by leaving Rin for last, we multiply our the guy that's doing the most damage rather than just using him to break.
Yeah, you basically want to use Death, Crafts, Breaks last with the people that have Scorpio equipped, since Scorpio does more break damage. Well, while we still have time, we can enjoy without the sidecar bike, where you can actually control this thing properly.
Anyway, we've done the first part of this day basically. Where Hajimari has VR waifu date, so I have to play this game now. Anyway, with that out of the way, sorry. We've done the first part of this chapter, where we're stuck in Ordis, and now we get to go to the right side, or left side, I don't remember, of the map, which is the other town, called Raquel, which is where Ash is from. Muse is actually from Ordis, which is something I didn't mention, but there, lore for you. Raquel is a small town, basically, so we don't really have to walk that much. Everything seems to be right next to the other thing, basically. I can't really tell you how much Autobound says in this game, Scarlet, because I haven't run it myself. But I do know you, for example, escaped the entire last dungeon and also the fortress that we're gonna do in this chapter, so it saves a bunch.
The thing is with out of bounds, it requires 6 times turbo on the field to work it consistently. So you mostly run no turbo with out of bounds, and you only use the turbo when you do out of bounds tricks.
Yeah, so it's a slightly weird, basically.
Yeah,
it's no turbo
really...
category that actually uses turbo for the tricks, and then if you're running turbo, you're stuck with 6 times turbo, so you're very, let's say, hard to control. This is twice as turbo, and you guys are saying, oh, you're going so fast, and it's twice as hard to control, basically. 6 times as hard to control will be really hard.
I mean, you can run it if you don't mind bumping into every enemy.
I mean, just play smoke grenades.
You actually would need to do that.
I miss smoke grenades.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. I'm really bad, dude. I keep taking encounters. I miss in Coastal 2 them being part of the route and you just use them.
You get 10 here for free.
I mean, this is true. But 10 is not the 40 we buy in Coastal 2, you know? 40 is so many.
Yeah, 40 was the safe part. I don't know if I even buy 40 anymore.
I think you started buying 30 on Coastal 2 to cut out some tests.
30 sounds about right.
Yeah, after we clear Raquel, I believe we're just going back to it, basically, to report our quests, and then we go back to camp.
No, we're going for a mission to get some
is it the night
info.
part already?
Yes, it is the night part.
Yeah, essentially after you go back to camp, people are like, oh, you need info, and then the adults go over to Raquel at night, because Raquel is supposed to be like a nightlife city. There's like a lot
Yeah.
of bars and stuff, and clubs, etc. Which by the game forces you to pay 1,000 mira in this chapter to enter a club. I hate the game. I was so mad when I was playing casually that I actually had to tell Shin. I can't believe he just stole money from me.
Hey man, you pay for the ends, might as well pay for the casino entry.
No, I pay for the ins because I want to pay for the ins. The casino entry is like I have to go into the casino. You know, I don't get an option.
So here we catch a guy and find out he has a feet fetish.
Yeah, it's kind of an unnecessary sin if you ask me, but it's quite the sin.
Yeah, just anime things.
It's a bit far from anime, I'm not gonna lie. And here we're forced to play the game again. I believe you can just lose this again.
Yeah, you can surrender.
Yeah.
And proceed as if the winner. Just like that, you can win.
It's truly amazing. Way better than the prologue one. Where, you know, the prologue one was annoying because the character just refuses to attack you. Because they have units that are classified as defender in the code, probably. And then they don't want to suicide them. Yeah, that scene is quite something. Especially because the character kinda, like, in the earlier part, he just sells you out. He basically tells Jaegers, which are this game's mercenaries, where you are, so they can kill you. So then, when you catch him, the scene is out of place, let's say. Anyway, this is a semi-required quest that Shin said. It looks like we're doing optional quest, but in reality, the game just wants us to do 2 out of 3. And we're gonna do the 2 fastest ones. You can do all 3 if you're playing casually, but obviously speedrunning, we're gonna do as little as possible. Which is this fight here. And then I will be very surprised if you do the bar just one instead of the race. I believe you do the race.
You definitely don't want to do the solo fight. Ooh, no.
Yeah. Like one of the quests here is it's called Racing the Bardias. Basically, you go over to the fortress that we're gonna be in later on, and you just fight some soldiers, and then you have to fight Bardias himself alone. Bardias is like a good soldier, lore-wise, and fight-wise, he's also pretty good, basically. Like, it's a really hard fight to do. You don't want to spend the resources on him when you can just do this fight, which is way easier. We have a lot of resources here. Sarah is a really good unit, both in Coastal 2 and in this game. Sarah just has a lot of damage, and also her self-buff gives her Insight. Insight is a busted status effect in this game. It gives you 50% evasion, and also 50% crit, but like 50% evasion is broken by itself. Like, yes. The way Coastal 2 works, just so you get an idea, is that we just put Fee out front with Insight, and then we never get hit. Because, like, the evasion is broken. So Sarah having that on top of having a lot of speed and a lot of attack makes her a powerhouse for unit.
Once again, we bought armor not for the defense but for the speed. Since the body piece that one has 7 speed. Yeah, they changed Shining in this game. So they made it's now AoE, so it's even easier than before. You can literally just do one cast and the whole team has evasion.
Yeah. Shining is the spell that gives you the Insight status, and in earlier games it was single target. Now it's not even a small AoE, right? It's a middle one. But, oh no, the hotpots.
Yeah, 54 hotpots.
Remember when I said we need a lot of money and also we're gonna eat a lot? Yeah. We just bought 54 hotpots because when you eat them you get craft points. And craft points are good. We're gonna eat all 54, don't worry about it. We're actually gonna buy more food later on.
The funny thing about the item descriptions, it says it's 50 AP, but actually it's 50 CP. It's just a translation error. And there are quite a few of them like that in this game.
Also, this is Brion Island. It's kind of unremarkable, but also it's very remarkable because it has the most important chest in the game. More about that when we actually grab the chest, but Let's just say that there's something in the chest that is extremely broken. It has been broken for Cold Steel 2. I believe it was also broken in Cold Steel 1, but I didn't run that one. It's still broken.
Cold Steel 1 is not that great.
Yeah. It's definitely broken in Cold Steel 2.
Yes, it is.
I know it is. Essentially, story-wise, we're in this island, which is kind of deserted. Basically, it's not handled. Like as far as I know, no one lives here. It's kind of like a tourist spot sometimes, but also not really because people kind of disappear here, so no one wants to go here. And Millium, who is one of our old classmates, and also she's part of the intelligence division, has come here to investigate. And we're kind of looking for her because she has disappeared, just like everyone else.
By the way, this might be a good time for some donations, if we have any.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I have what, for those of you out there, might consider a spoiler for Fire Emblem Three Houses, I think. $60 donation from Talon. He says, I am Ferided. Rip A-Gear. Aww. Then I have $25 from Cesaro with no donation message. Thank you very much, Cesaro. And then from Cinder at $40. He says, stay safe and stay sane during these trying times. Let's give it up for the runners, commentators, hosts, and everyone behind the scenes. Make this possible. Hashtag Team Chaos. Yes, Cinder. Team Chaos. After my own heart. Take that team order. But yes, let's give a big shout out to everyone who's working on the marathon, be it the tech, the runners, the hosts, the commentators, my fellow mods in the chat. Everyone is making this this run possible. So big shout outs to all of those. And we are inching in on that 15,000. We're currently at $14,509.44. Such a beautiful Team Chaos number.
Okay, so we did the island part, which is basically we just have to go around, lighting up some altars with a pendant we get. And then we also grabbed the chest that I was talking about, which has Minotaurus in it. Minotaurus is by far the strongest Master Quartz in the game, because on top of very good stats, it also gives you the effect, which is your attacks have like twice the damage, basically.
This might be problematic.
I mean, it's one guy.
One guy, and we don't do any damage. I need to save Reen somehow. He needs the XP. Perfect guard and Reach-in. We gotta finish this fight now. Okay.
Musa probably.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. So that happened, but basically what I was saying is that Minotaurus is by far the strongest quartz in the game, probably in the series, because it just gives you, in exchange of being slightly slower, your attacks and crafts do twice as much damage, including your S-craft, which is the thing we keep using that does a lot of damage, and you can use at any point, like even if it's not your turn. So what we're gonna start doing is since you can actually equip Master Quartz on 2 people on this chapter, what this allows us to do is to just have 2 people who are dealing a lot of damage to their S-crafts, and then we just kind of fit them and make their life really easy while they are being our DPS. That's pretty much how Cold Steel 2 works, like the speedruns too. We just have a CP battery in the form of Alisa, and then we have Fee tanking, Reen who is buffing. By the way, speaking of that, actually, a pet peeve of mine, and I know Shin also misses it, is that Reen is really bad at buffing in this game compared to Cold Steel 2. In exchange, he does 2 damage, but buffing was really nice. Anyway, this is the second part of the 2. We actually get the old class 7 back. We have like the grown-ups basically. Like I said, Gaius is a unit that is really weird because he's really nice, but he doesn't get his S-break right up until the end, up until they reach our last chapter. So we just kinda jet him. Goodbye, Gaius. We're never gonna use him.
Alright, it's the Jaeger Boogaloo time.
It's time to just eat all the food.
And you don't really eat that much because I use the
Yeah,
Master
we
Quartz level up
glitch.
village here pretty nicely.
In case anyone's coming in or has forgotten, when your Master Quartz levels up, there's a glitch that just gets you back whatever CP you had before the fight. So if you start the fight with 200 and then you use those 200 up, and then the Master Quartz levels up, when the fight ends you still have 200. Which is why you've seen a lot of menuing of moving Master Quartz around.
Oops, kind
You
of
might
forgot.
see less now that we have Minotaurus, but there's still gonna be a bunch. And essentially, this is just, we have to get through a bunch of fights up until we reach the top, and then we get sent over to the fortress, which is, I wanna say, the most annoying dungeon. I don't know if you'll agree. The palace is also kind of annoying, but for me, the fortress is definitely like the worst. Basically, a fortress is like a big labyrinth where you're split into two groups. The groups aren't like, they aren't quite set, but they also kind of are. Like, the game forces you to send some people on this group and some people on that other group. And then
Yeah, I do agree that the one is pretty annoying as a dungeon.
yeah, basically it's a huge labyrinth, and also splitting into groups means less resources. The next chapter has that, but even bigger. You actually split into 3 groups. In exchange, the dungeon is not nearly as much of a labyrinth. The reason this one is really annoying is because it's really hard to know where to go. Even if you've studied the layout, you still get lost sometimes. Now here we are setting the groups, and then we just go. So once again, the way this works is, you have 2 groups. They each have to reach different points and hit levers to open doors for the other group. And then they both have to reach some lever that they have to hit at the same time to open both first a door, and then you have to do it again to open a bridge.
Okay, I remembered.
The different groups means that we can actually swap equipment between the 2 groups. So only one group is gonna have like our main equipment at a time. So you're gonna see every time we swap groups, we're basically gonna menu in anticipation of the fights that are gonna come up. The one in chapter 4 is much better, I agree. Simply because it's less of a labyrinth. This dungeon is also kinda, it's not super long, but it's noticeably long basically. Like, there's a lot of floors to this, and the constant swapping of parties makes it longer.
Yeah, there are a lot of ways where you can go, but the main path is pretty short. Like, there's quite a few options to explore it, but yeah.
At least since the hallways are kind of spacious, so you can avoid enemies without much trouble. I'm not gonna say it's hard to get the counter because I'll jinx it, see? But let's just say there's actual space, unlike in some other dungeons where you barely squeeze by.
Impossible to get the range consistently.
Also, you might notice if you've been here from the beginning, this is eerily similar to prologue. This is because, like I said, prologue is actually chapter 3. This is the dungeon that we just start on. Except, well, I mean, we start with this group, except this time around we have Angelica. At the start we didn't. Angelica's kind of a, I don't know how to describe Angelica's unit. She has a good DPS, but she's not quite at the level of Sarah, is the way I want to say it.
She
She's
has
also
a really good master quartz we cannot unequip.
Yeah, basically. Like, the Master Quartz is what really saves her.
But yeah, we're back to prologue. This time for real.
We're gonna do the same fights that we did in Prologue, except this strat is slightly different. A, because we have way less levels than we actually do in Prologue. The game expects it to be higher level than we are, obviously, because we have barely taken any encounters.
Okay, I cannot buff.
And Prologue are way stronger. And also, we have Angelica. Which, like I said, Angelica is a pretty fine unit. Not quite Sarah tier, but she's pretty fine.
I wanna do 1 link attack here and 2 Ascrats. The main point, I wanna be also at least a 4 BP, since I'll be using 2 BP orders for the next group.
BP's carry over, like, pretty much through anything, as far as I know. They carry over through chapters, through fights, through mech fights, through pretty much anything. Aside, well, actually, you don't start mech fights with however VP you had, but other than that, they do carry over. So basically, farming BP in one fight for the next one, which might be way harder, is a common strat in this run. Because like I said, VP are used for pretty much anything, and especially the orders. I don't know, Brave Orders, thank you, that's the word I was looking for. Which, like I said, are strong party-wide buffs.
Yes, Angelica's Master Quartz is the one that regenerates HP, AP, and CP on field, but yeah, the CP part is what we would be looking for.
Yeah, regenerating CP on field is like extremely strong because you don't have to feed here and you can pretty much always S-break. However, since Angelica isn't actually part of our party, we can't take it off. Same thing for if you paid close attention there. We also can't change Valhalla X, which is Aurelia's Master Quartz.
Fine.
My phone just dropped. That's something.
Well,
Sledgehammer is 100% break damage.
Scorpio, Keeper, just switch to Keeper. Unequip this. Yeah, I kind of messed up the menu here a bit.
Just take your time.
Keeper. There we go. Also Sophia. First. Yeah, I don't wanna unequip the Scorpio from Ash yet because it's still duped. For chapter 4 we don't care about the dupe anymore. But for this chapter we still want to have the dupe up. The dupe also means the Master Quartz gets more XP as well.
Yeah, Crazy Hand gives, I believe, 50% crit, and it also gives you small buffs. It's kinda useful, but not really, basically, because we don't really care about crits on the speedrun. Like, the orders that you're really gonna be seeing is Sledgehammer, because it's broken. Like, breaking enemies is really strong, obviously. And then the ones that give you damage, or less delay. So basically, just the pure DPS ones. Like, you'll be seeing Raging Fire a lot because it's 1 BP and it's 20% damage. It also can be used to farm CP if you're kind of in a pinch. You're gonna be seeing Windblade, Sigma Operation because they are a lot less delay. And then finally, you're gonna be seeing Valiant Hearts also. Especially at the end, because Valiant Hearts 60% damage and 60% is a lot. It kinda breaks some fights.
But yeah, mostly Windblade is really strong with the delay reduction, and if you can delay the opponent, then you kind of have like unlimited turns at that point.
Especially if the enemy is broken, you're gonna get your BP back every time you attack. So then you can just kinda, since Windblade is only, I believe it's 2 CP?
Yeah,
Maybe 3,
Windblade is 2
2.
BP.
Yeah. With 2 attacks that break, you can just cast it again, and then you're kinda in a loop. We're reaching the end. This is the lever that I said we have to hit at the same time, and this is the last fight. This fight is like, it looks a lot harder than it actually is, basically, because they hype this character up a lot, but you just can nice break her and she dies.
This fight gives the most XP in the game, I think.
Yeah. The next fight, however, is not hyped at all, and it's one of the most annoying mixed fights we're gonna see, even though it's a single target. Because this guy has 7 different instances, and all 7 have different values for unbalancing. So, very high variance basically, where you have to memorize every stance, and also sometimes he just does things when he's not supposed to, and you just kind of improvise. Also, this fight is divided in, or chopped up, in 3 phases. Every 30% you thankfully get a full refill. So sometimes you'll see things that are looking like basically suicide attacks, but in reality we know that we're gonna get a refill, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh, well, I attacked the wrong part and I won the 25% roll. Okay.
I mean, it worked out, you know? Sometimes RNG just skips it.
Yeah.
Yo, actually, something to note just because I'm gonna diss the game a bit. Rin's sword breaks here, like it's currently cutting health. We're just getting some anime swords right now from literally the power of friendship. It's justified through some game things, but it's essentially just power of friendship. As soon as this chapter ends, we're gonna get our sword repaired. I just wanna point out that the entirety of Coastal 2 is just getting that sword. So it's a game before, and it's just literally in between chapters now.
Another thing is, in the second phase, you actually deal less damage because your sword is broken. With Rin, that is.
Oh, mom.
Okay, chapter 4.
We're near
So
the end. This game has like 4 actual chapters, and there's the epilogue.
Chapter length is pretty
Very variable.
random. Like the first 2 chapters are pretty short, and chapter 3 and 4 is like quite long.
Really long. Yeah. We're gonna be in chapter 4 for quite a while. The school part is kinda, well, it's shorter than the others. Well, it's not shorter than this, but like what I'm trying to say is that in comparison, the school is way shorter than the field, because the field really does take forever.
Rin got to be an instructor with just C grades.
Yeah, we're not very smart on this speedrun, but that's okay. We're just kind of trying to teach our students, but like I said, we're not very smart, so we don't know how they're gonna do in tests. Spoilers, we do. They're gonna do really badly. And after that, we just do the test.
Yeah, we fail our student stats tests.
It's really sad. Our students know literally nothing, and yet they are still tasked with saving the world.
Okay, yeah. Need to
Forget
invest
we
here.
get the keep mission, so we're gonna set up for that and then do it. We need rest because we don't have a shower here, and unfortunately, we could take a bath, but it's not quite enough.
The bath in the dorms is just only one-time thing per chapter, so you only get 100 CP out of that.
Yep. So it's not quite enough, unfortunately, and we're gonna instead have to do the in-res, which is slightly slower, but we can actually do it twice. And we really want to do it twice because once again, CP is really important, and also because in this skip, Rain isn't coming with us. He's kind of staying back as a teacher. He's like, you students have learned a lot, even though you failed all of your exams. Go ahead, you can do it. And like I've been saying, Ruin is by far our highest level character and also our main DPS. So we're gonna try to do this dungeon without our main DPS, which is hard, basically. I don't know if hard is the word I'm looking for, but I've been using annoying so much that I tried to skip it. Thankfully, all of our characters. Well, I don't know if Tita doesn't have an S break, right? Or does she?
No, she doesn't.
Yeah. But all of our main characters, so Ash and Muse, have gotten their S breaks on their last chapter. So we do have a bunch of S breaks. And what Tita does have is like infinite HP basically. She uses a small mech. So, well, if you look at the HP value, she gets 10,000 more than our actual characters. I don't even know how much HP Valimar has, but I believe it's around 23,000, so she's close. She's closer to Valimar than to our actual characters, which is kind of impressive.
I did more damage here because I didn't have the foot buff anymore that I did waste earlier in the run. accidentally.
There's some party main also equipping like Minotaur because you know Minotaur is damage. We changed Scorpio there if I recall correctly, which means that it's no longer dupe, but it doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah, the
Thankfully.
dupe doesn't matter. The menu is actually quite easier now, since it's usually always someone with Minotauros and Scald, and the other person is with the Scorpio and Minotauros.
We haven't mentioned Skull at all, but Skull basically it's a master course that on top of mostly defense and attack gets you more break damage the higher your HP is. So basically, if you S-break at 100% HP, you're gonna do a lot of break damage. And break damage is nice, in case you haven't noticed that we are constantly using the Sledgehammer, which is purely break damage.
If you played Sky third game and used Tita's armor there, it's really nice.
But Shane, I haven't. How will I know it's nice?
Pretty simple, you just have to play that game.
But it's not on sale yet. It never goes on sale, dude. It's a Halloween sale. It's a spooky game.
I guess you gotta wait for Christmas, but it usually
I
goes
guess.
on 25%. Not,
I mean,
don't think I've
25%
seen lower.
is bigger than 0, you know? But yeah, here we have man-made monster, an archaism like the game call said. We're gonna try to kill him without our main damage, like I said. It's kinda like, it's not nearly as hard as I'm trying to make it sound, but it's just interesting because you have to change up your strat basically from what it usually is. Honestly, compared to the fight on chapter 2 where you do a Stratos driver, all of these fights are way easier. Like they are definitely more consistent as we get more resources. I believe this is the Aurelia. I don't know how Laura says it. Victor, thank you. Aurelia Victor fight.
Oops.
These guys are basically supposed to be the strongest characters in the game. Like the two best swordsmen or source people, I guess. They are not easy. That's what I'm trying to say. They also have a link, which means they can break you. Thankfully, we have Minotauros, basically. Once again, Minotauros allowing us to do twice as much damage. It's kinda broken. Oh
Not
yes.
sure why I went to the church.
I don't know, maybe you just wanted to pray after giving them dirty like that?
No, for some reason I thought it's just prologue again.
First people, hey, I'm trying to be inclusive here. This just looks insane. Yeah, Minotauros is just a really, really, really good quartz. Doing, well, it's just twice as much damage, but it's already leveled up a couple times. I believe we're already in like 250 if I recall correctly. It's just broken, basically. We're basically getting twice as many S-breaks for free, and
Uh-oh, well, if Yuna that goes down, we still have Muse.
usually fine, yeah.
Yeah.
But I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, Minotaurus is broken because we're getting twice as many S-breaks without having to spend the turns. So we're just putting out a huge amount of DPS out there. Actually, the like this chapter's end dungeon is like I said, we're split in 3. And the way we're actually gonna do it is what I said earlier, which is we have a CP battery that just constantly gives us CP, and then we have people with Minotaurus that are gonna be doing a lot of damage. Simply because, like I said, Minotaurus is broken, lots of damage. As it says breaks, like by S-breaking you just counter the entirety of the bad part of Minotaurus because it doesn't have to be your turn to attack. And the bad part of Minotaurus is you get less attacks then, but that doesn't really matter if it doesn't have to be your turn.
But you ever gotten a 4th turn on the break on that fight? Not sure why it was like that. Like, the speed stat should not be any different than usual.
I have no idea, honestly. I'm too busy
How far,
talking about.
how far did you even get in the room, accurate?
In the route, I got up to. I believe I learned the first day of Crossbow, but not past that.
Okay.
I did try to study up the notes and stuff for commentary, but I'm talking too much to actually, you know, pay attention to anything, really. I don't even know how I'm talking.
Yes,
Well, I
please
have to
play the
play the
previous
previous game,
games.
yes.
Don't listen to Nisa saying it's a great game to start off with the series. Okay, let's get the
I
weapons
will
first.
argue, yeah, I will argue that you only have to play 1 and 2. Some people will argue that you have to play both the sky and the crossbow part, which, you know, they kind of have a point because some characters reappear, so it's nicer if you know them, but if you don't, it's still more than
Oops.
fine. You'll still understand the story.
Okay, so Scorpio, Taurus.
All the way back to the originals, dude. I don't have the consoles.
Okay, so here we go. Selling again.
Please route this out already.
I wish I could. I wish I could.
It's so ugly. But yeah, like I said, we need some very expensive accessories in this game.
Oh, almost sold the
Namely,
Lone Blade. Could have
don't
been
sell
really
Lone Blade.
sad times.
Yeah, do not sell Lone Blade.
I need to equip that, that's why I forgot.
Lone Blade is just a buff that gets you more attack when you start to fight, basically. I believe it's 50% more damage in your first craft or attack.
Attack, yeah. And craft
So-
also, it counts.
So selling it is really bad. basically,
Lone Blade,
because-
what you basically call mini domination.
Yeah.
Which we're gonna upgrade into domination a bit later. This is the item we
Now-
need for that.
We're heading to Heimdall. Heimdall is the capital of the Empire, which means that it's really big, basically, and it really is really big. This chapter, like we said, is by far the longest chapter, and we only get access to half the city, even. I believe there's some parts of the city that are shown in Coastal 1 that you actually can't access in this game, and vice
Yeah,
versa.
there are a few. We're also going into some buildings just to open the warp point there, so we'll get back there.
Yeah, unlike in Coastal 2, in this game you can't warp, like fast travel to the places you haven't been. In Coastal 2, once you enter a town, you usually have all the fast travel points available. In this game, you don't. So we have to enter some places just to get them for later. And also, it's just usual day one stuff where you have to get to know the city, so yeah, just by default, you have to talk to a lot of NPCs. Your places, talk to them, etc.
Yeah, basically you just go exploring on day one. Also, pigeons have collisions here.
And yeah, basically we just have an objective per district. We have 4 districts to go through. So we just visit them, and then eventually we actually get quests that we do. Well, technically we already have the quest, but the game wants us to put them off. English is hard up until you actually visit the town. It's so funny, just seeing the break into just Tauros. Minotaurus, sorry.
Yeah, Minotaurus and Skull almost guarantees a break on most of the fights now.
Now with the quest done, something interesting to note is that you may see that we have an extra character now that is naturally in our party. We get Thomas, who is gonna leave our party right now, but he's pretty relevant story-wise. Since we're skipping
Just-
all the cutscenes, I'm not really gonna spoil why, but Let's just say that he's basically an old teacher and he's pretty relevant.
Just a mad scientist.
Yeah. Even the scientist is between quotation marks.
Yeah. Alright, let's go and...
Horse race.
Yeah, vote on the horse race.
Is this... How does this work, by the way? Like,
Hmm?
does the same horse always win, or does the horse you pick
Yes,
always win?
it always wins. If you pick the Lino.
Okay. Like, I won casually and I didn't know if it was like a scripted thing where you just always win, or if I just got lucky.
Yeah, it gives you like 1000 Mira for winning and 1 AP.
Hey, more money is always welcome. And after that, we go to the down parts of Heimdall, which is a dungeon, basically.
Yeah,
If you looked
this
at the Geofront on Chapter 2, this is... I mean, it's not the same, but it's kind of similar. Where it's just the small passageways, and once you know the dungeon layout, it's kind of easy.
yeah, just some spooks under the city.
The monsters look so scary, actually.
Well, yeah.
Like, they aren't actually scary because it isn't like a horror game or anything, but like, dude,
They tried, you know.
yeah. I definitely will not like to see that, like, one of these guys at all.
Since we've had a few questions regarding it, yes, sadly, the crosscode run that was following this one had to be removed from the schedule due to the runner not feeling too well. So right after this, we'll be questing for glory, or quest for glory during questing for glory. That's a thing. Anyone gets that reference, I applaud you. But yes, we will be having to skip the crosscode run, unfortunately. And while I'm thinking about it, Shinoa and Acred, we've had a few people come in since the beginning of the run. Could you cover why the game is running as quickly as it is?
Yeah, the way this, like, the main feature of this speed game basically is that the game gets you a speed up button. It's called Turbo Mode. If you look at the top right, you can see it says Turbo Mode right there. Essentially, you can go up to 6 times normal speed. It literally just changes the game's time scale. So everything just runs 6 times faster. Right now we're running at twice the speed because 6 times is very unwieldy. Like, you really can't manage it. And also, because the first games only went up to 2 on the first releases, so we kept that for legacy reasons. Right here we're technically chasing some guys. Yeah. And then basically this section has a lot of obstacles, I wanna say, and also technically time limit. The time limit also goes twice as fast because of turbo. It's still kinda easy to catch
one
them,
bomb,
yeah.
but we won.
Well, he's so good. AP increased by 3. I'm not very the we exit we're at the cemetery. We just kinda we visit this tomb, which is part of a like I said in chapter 2. Our character technically was dead. We don't really know what's happening with him after chapter 2, and exiting the cemetery is kind of a good plot point there.
Alright, now Rin is gonna meet up with his old class 7 members. And Sarah too.
I mean, Kasara's a teacher, just a class 7 member.
Well, I guess.
Foolish here.
The old class 7 OG.
I can't believe Shinoa is just bullying the teacher.
Oh no.
Anyway, just day 1 done if I recall correctly, and now we're just almost to day 2, which is even more quests basically. Once again, we just go around the city asking people for info, and we do quests. Also, you can't skip the cutscene, which is kind of funny. That happens sometimes. There's some cutscenes and text that you can skip in this game for some reason. There doesn't really seem to be like an actual reason. Sometimes the game is just like, you can't skip this, and you're like, well, okay, I'll fast forward it.
There's another thing that like there are two cutscenes where you would need to fast forward them both separately, but sometimes one fast forward like skips through both of them. I have no clue what's the cost and how does it work sometimes.
Just say good code. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. It works always because no one knows what the code is like.
Good
Anyway,
old
after-
Villa.
Yeah, I wouldn't say good or old, but I would old. This is a part of CS2 and it kills runs, basically.
Doesn't.
What do you mean doesn't? Have you never died to Tina here? I for sure
Oh,
have.
that. I mean, it happened, but come on. Everything before is alright.
I mean, yeah, the lead up to here is fine, but she really isn't.
Guys, let me get the last ones off. Alright, 6 power warp and 1 domination. Thank you.
You should play Vantage Master with him. He looks really nice.
No, we don't do that. We do not do that here. Yeah, over here.
I'm honestly worried about the shower rate. Like, their skin has to be in really bad shape right now after so many showers.
It's fine. There are just very few left. And there will be no more showers.
Anyway, things are wrapping up on this. I don't want to say this chapter, but on this day, I believe, are basically having lunch, and after that, the story continues. Like, we're no longer in free time. Well, not really free, but we're no longer vibing around the city. This is a museum. The museum is having bad things happen, basically. And we're gonna go down into the dungeon that I mentioned earlier, where you split your party on 3. This place is obviously splitting your party in 3 is a bit annoying because you have 3 times less resources, but also since you can exchange equipment between parties, it's not a huge deal. And also this place's layout is way better than the fortress that we were in chapter 3. So it's not the worst dungeon, not even close.
Okay. Nope, that's wrong. Always mess that up for some reason. Okay, you know, come here.
Squeezing in a quick $15 donation from Racodactylius with no donation comment. Thank you, Racco.
Essentially, once again, since our team is split among 3, we are gonna be seeing a lot of menu in this dungeon. We have to exchange our resources between parties every time we swap. But in exchange, our party is actually gonna be strong, I wanna say. And also, since we get to use a lot of different characters, even though the strat kinda remains the same because Minotaurus is broken, there is still some slight difference here and there.
This is technically the only menu we do for now. The rest is at the end of that dungeon.
Yeah.
Since there's that
Go ahead.
There's that fight where we just did. It's technically optional, but it's blocking the pathway we need to go through. There are more of the fights in the dungeon, but that's the only one we do since we cannot get past through that.
Yeah, the main gimmick of this dungeon is that there's 3 squares per floor, and you have to have your 3 party members stand on the squares basically, or your 3 different parties stand on the squares for the next floor to open. This is a square, you already saw the green party stand there, and then we have to stand there with Muse system. At first they are in different spots, like in this floor I don't really see a logic to them other than they are far from the entrance. On the next floor they're actually right by the exit basically.
And once again, we can just teleport to the dungeon's entrance like that.
This dungeon is kind of a callback to, well, not really this dungeon, but like the boss here is a boss that you've technically already defeated in Cold Steel 1, except he's like the true form in this case, or something like that. But what I'm trying to say is that this dungeon is basically lore, and that's why it's so overly complicated. But it's when you're playing casual, it's pretty nice.
So the gimmick of this dungeon is basically each party has to press the switch for the other parties to be able to proceed the dungeon.
Yeah, also on this floor, there's levers like the one she just hit. Every lever opens a different set of doors, like colored doors basically. There are colored levers and colored doors. And he has hit one, and then he's standing right next to brown. I'm calling it brown even though it's like orange-ish on the map, but the door looks brown. He's standing next to a brown door, and we're basically gonna be looking for another lever with Kurt's group and then with Muse's group to open the different doors. Because like I said on this dungeon here, you see the square is right at the exit basically.
I hope you guys are liking the anime speeches in this dungeon. Everyone is feeling motivated.
If you're playing these games and don't want anime speeches, you're playing the wrong games, man. It's an anime game, of course you're gonna get anime speeches. If anything, Rin should have more of them.
Yeah,
They should be
somehow Yuna has more than Rin. Are we
This
dead?
I believe is the last floor. Yeah, you are completely screwed.
No, we're fine. Smoke grenade to the rescue.
Ugh. Let's just say that the enemy advantage is like the one Shingo can go really wrong really quickly because suddenly all the enemies attack you and we're extremely underleveled by this point. Like, we've only done forced fights and the game does not expect us to have only done forced fights, so even though it seems like we're doing a lot of damage and like weren't that underleveled, we're only doing damage because our quartzes are good. Like Minotaurus, like I've been saying, is really good, breaks are really good, which allows us to keep more or less decent damage output. Our defense is absolutely on the floor. Like, 2 attacks on any one character would probably kill him. Unless it's Tita, I guess, because Tita has so much HP, but we don't have Tita usually. We don't have Tita here, obviously. I think we only have Tita for 2 different dungeons, one of which is in this chapter, because this chapter is really long, but it's not this one. It's just a cape and then another one.
Also, I use Muse auto attack here instead of the assault attack since the assault attack is slower.
You guys for nice emotional support, dude. I'm not here for emotional support. I'm here to meme around. I was literally
Alright.
told, yeah, it's fine.
Here's
just
the
meme
guy
around.
stuck in the wall. I don't know why it happens, but he's always there. Inside the wall.
Anyway, I haven't really explained this floor, but essentially in this floor there's 3 crystals per group, and you have to break all 3. Once again, like in Stargaze's Tower, the best way to break them is just with the ranged attacks, which are the assault attacks. And once they're broken, the doors go down, and each group has to fight a mini-boss. So you're gonna be seeing menuing before that mini-boss, and then after the mini-boss to actually fight the real final boss. However, the mini-boss himself, I don't wanna say he's not threatening, but like Minotaurus, man. Like plonk, plonk, bye. You get me?
Yeah, bonk bonk. Oh yeah, I'll just wanna equip now before I forget it.
We can't go over to shower or anything. We're trapped in the dungeon, so you're gonna be seeing us force feed after every mini boss. We just want the CP for the actual final boss, because obviously final boss is even harder than the mini boss. I wanna say even harder, it's not too hard, looking at how we just did the mini boss, but yeah. This is PC or console, this is PC. The route is the same on console though, as far as I know. Just the loads are faster here.
Okay, action 3, AP cut 3.
Please just slow down, I can see the menus. I can describe them for you. You just give Tauros to people and then you give them speed. And then enemies die. That's the gist of it. See? Oh, I missed the break part, but you know.
You get the idea.
Yeah. You basically just give them damage and speed. And speed is optional most of the time. It's just for returning orders. I believe this fight is the first fight where we actually use a CP battery though, right? Like the boss fight?
Yes, since the boss has a lot of health and I gotta use all my free parties.
Essentially, right after this, you are allowed to rearrange your 3 parties, but then there's a final boss, and every single party interacts with the final boss, which is something I didn't know actually. So one of my parties was really bad, but now that we know, it's like you basically just have to keep an eye out for every single party. So I think that's interesting though is that you can only equip Tauros on 2 people, so there's a party that doesn't have Tauros.
Sophia, Operon, Tempest with Sirius. Okay, should be fine. Oh wait, yeah, he has Tauros. I think should be fine.
I believe in you.
I'm trying to think a bit ahead.
This part kinda dies.
Oh,
Don't worry, this is how it's supposed to go.
So fabulous, you love to say it. And then for this fight, like I said, we use the CP battery. Essentially, Emma has a lot of mana, so she can use a spell which is called Chronovirus, which saves you 2 turns. And then what we do is that we use, on those 2 turns, we use the first one to use her skill that gives CP to other people, and then the second turn we use Chronoburst again. So she just gets infinite turns as long as she has mana to give out different CP to different characters that then is break. And then for this part we actually do have Tauros equipped on Marine, so the boss kinda dies. And now there's the classic mix fight. Usually this will be the end of the chapter. Chapter 4 is extremely long, so this is not the end of the chapter. But it is thankfully the end of the dungeon.
You would expect this would be the last dungeon, but no, it's not.
Surely not. So after the dungeon is done, we still have to do this fight without any sort of rest. This fight is not that hard because we use a Saran capsule. I don't know if it's a capsule or powder. I think it's a capsule.
It's a powder.
Okay. The end
Just we
result
need
is the
that
same.
200
Just give the
CP.
CP. Yeah. Just give the CP and then we connect break twice in a row and just he dies.
Yeah, be sure to have Minotaurus there. If you don't, then it looks pretty ugly.
Essentially, since Minotaurus like more than doubles their damage, not having it on will make you go from like essentially 5 face breaks to 2, and that's a lot of damage you're missing.
Okay, time to do some selling again.
Right now we're in what's technically called the festival. Essentially, you get to interact with all of your characters. This is where you get the achievements for having bonds with them, etc. It's something we really wish we could skip, basically, because it's just a ton of cutscenes, one after the other, without really anything of worth to show.
And food again, because we're always hungry.
Tomato curry, yes. I really hope it does like it isn't spicy, because you feed them to your characters at such a speed.
Well, who knows?
And yeah, we're forced to spend an amount of tickets, so we're just gonna spend them all here. But after that, after that, we still have to clear another dungeon. This is the other dungeon where I said we get to use Tita. I don't think we actually use her, but she's in the party.
Yeah, we gather like a small army of the characters that we didn't get to use before.
Yeah. We essentially get pretty much every single invited character, I want to say. Like those characters that are with you for a very small amount of time, like Claire.
Where is... Okay.
Well, I said like Claire, I think you actually do not get Claire, but it was a good example because Claire is never in your party, basically. She's only there for 30 seconds. Essentially, this is just we already did this dungeon, so you may remember, but at the end of the catacombs on this chapter, we had to chase some people. Apparently, there's an extra guy left up here. We have to chase him around, and chasing him is you basically have to take a lot of turns because the game is like, oh, he's actually there, and it turns out that he's not actually there. He's just cryptid. So there's a lot of fights here to do.
Yeah, there are a few boss fights in this dungeon before we can get to the actual fight.
Thankfully, we do have a lot of damage. So
yeah, that's why we bought that many CP food again.
No, I think there's still another one after this, right?
It's 2 more.
Yeah.
And there's the third last one.
Oh, okay, so there is actually an extra one. Like, I thought it was 1 and then the last one. Essentially, we're just gonna... Like, this is basically chapter 4 cleanup. Chapter 4 is way longer than it probably should be. And there's this small dungeon, then after this there's a party. And after that there's a fair amount of big bosses. And then we actually enter the epilogue.
Okay, surprisingly, none of them did survive with the damage rolls.
You're like slightly ahead, so that was actually really funny to hear. Like, you were really late by the time I saw them die.
That feel when one fight is basically the delay time. Okay,
But
so
yeah,
here.
yeah, we're here. We're basically reaching the end of the dungeon here. We're like, of this kind of boss rush. We actually
Yeah.
have Ash in our party now, but no, basically.
We don't use them.
Like, compared to the other guys who are actually a decent level, the people who are usually in our party are very under leveled, so Ash is really not worth using. That's the boss of the dungeon, and then there's the party.
Oh yeah, okay. Like to take, I think, the last shower of the run here.
Ah yeah, after this you shouldn't be able to go to a shower anymore.
Yeah, no more showers. And now we're
I'll
C.
cross to this one.
So we get invited into this ball party.
You will think this could be the end of the chapter at least. No, it's not. There's still a party to go.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah, this chapter really has a big syndrome of, but wait, there's more.
Yeah, okay. For some reason, if you're playing above 60 FPS, there are FPS drops in this place. I
The
heard on the
party's
PS4 version, basically this part is like 15 FPS or something.
seriously? I mean, I guess there's like a lot of things to move around.
Yeah, not sure what's wrong with this.
But this part is just going around talking to people basically, and then skipping cutscenes like a madman.
Nope.
I mean,
here.
talking to people is also skipping a cutscene, so essentially you just skip cutscenes a lot. And then big plot developments happen.
Yeah, this is like the ultimate part where talk to everybody.
Oh, not safe.
When the skip menu is the shortcut menu.
Yeah. I wonder if
This
you're gonna
way.
find that probably.
I don't think so. I think it's just a PC thing only too.
Skip event. Yeah, thankfully we're done talking to people. Now there's just a lot of cutscenes to get through. Like a lot of them, honestly.
Okay, now it's the final chapter.
Okay, so the final chapter, if I recall correctly, starts with a boss rush, pretty much.
Yep. And
We're
the cutscene you cannot
finally,
skip.
yeah, we're finally getting Gaius' right here. Like, just in case you were still wondering when are we gonna get it, we get it right here. It is already the last chapter epilogue on this boss rush. And I don't really know how to describe this chapter, but essentially, you fight a lot of very powerful people, but Taurus is broken, so they just gonna die, and then you do a couple of mech fights. I think that's the best description.
Yeah, sounds about right.
There's also an optional fight here where you fight Aurelia. No, basically. It's kind of a cool fight because you get to use a Spirit Unification Re-end entire time through, but it's hard. No. It's also, it gives you a good order after it, like it gives you 50% crit and 2 turns of insight. Insight is really good, but it costs 5 PP, so it's not really worth using in a speedrun. Especially when you know we're kind of one-shotting things, so insight doesn't really do much for us.
Okay.
Yeah, after we skip these cutscenes, stuff starts to happen basically.
Good boom. Don't need that actually.
But yeah. We do so much damage with Sarah that the S break just breaks them by themselves and then they die. Taurus is good. Then like I said, there's kind of a boss rush, so there's yet another one. This time around, since Gaius has his S break, he's actually kind of useful. Like I said, Gaius is actually a good unit. He just didn't have an S break. He's still not gonna get that much time to shine though, because you know, Laura's seeing better. Laura essentially is a character that has a lot. She's slow, she doesn't have that much defense, but she is extremely powerful. So her S break just does a ton of damage. You see that like Laura SS breaks there and then suddenly they are broken, and then Gaius is gonna self buff and they're dead.
Yeah, she only breaks if she is full at HP. If she's a bit damaged, she cannot break. So
Yeah, that's how Scold works. For anyone who missed explanation, Scold is a master quartz, and essentially, the higher your HP, the more break damage you do, basically. So at 100% HP, you do the most break damage possible. And this last dungeon, it's circles. That's the best description I can give you. It's essentially a really vertical dungeon. You have to go very far down, and every single floor is basically turned as a spiral. I believe the track is actually called the Spiral of Erebos, even though the dungeon is called the Crawl.
yeah,
Like by the track, I mean the music track. It's just a spiral down, and you just kind of walk. This is also kind of a boss rush where we're gonna meet very powerful enemies, and then we're gonna fight them with a set party. Like the game says, you have to fight them with at least these 2 characters in your party. And then they leave us. They just stay behind fighting while we advance. So you're gonna see us slowly just lose out on party members. But in reality, since like right now our party is just Tauros, honestly. Whoever has Tauros equipped does a lot of damage, and we do so much damage that it doesn't really matter who's stealing it. We just boom, 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 you're dead. You may think I'm exaggerating. You'll soon find out that I'm not, because in this fight, which is probably the hardest fight, it's against McBurn and the head of the Stealthbreaker. We're just gonna use Valiant Hearts, 60% more damage, and then boom, 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 you're dead.
yeah. It only takes 2 Askrats to kill 2 strongest people in the game, kinda.
Yeah, so that's gonna be what we do. Basically. Essentially, like I've been saying, they didn't nerf Tauros for this game. I'd say more broken because you can use them 2 different people. I don't know if it's nerf on Cold Steel 4, I kinda hope so. But also, on the other hand, I also kinda hope it isn't, simply because this is so fun to just see. It just looks kinda stupid, you get me?
Yeah. This is fine. Just do that here.
We have to pretty much equip after every fight because, like I said, our party members leave us, and then we're forced to use a different ones. So we still want to have our equips, like our good equips, on the characters we're gonna be forced to use. But other than that, like, it doesn't matter who our party, like, even though the game tries to shake it up by forcing you to use different party members, at this point it doesn't really matter who's in our party. At the very end, we're gonna be left with only the new class 7 members, basically the youngsters that have... Like, the point of that is that for the speedrun, what I'm trying to say, they barely have any levels, because they are the characters we've been constantly using, so the game doesn't bother to, like, level them up at all. You just, they have the levels that you give them XP to. That's very different from Coastal 2, for example. Like, In Coastal 2, since your party can be extremely big, you can use any one character. After each chapter, the game says, if any one character is below this level or than green, I'm gonna bump it up to the minimum level. This game doesn't do that for any of the new class 7 members, for any of the kids. It does do it for the members that you get every chapter, like the old class 7 members. So what I'm trying to say is that the all class 7 members are extremely strong, while the kids are a lot weaker. But even then, Tauros is gonna more than make up for it.
Scald.
Now we're near the bottom, we only have to do one more fight and then we're actually on the final boss. Once again, equip the things and then just head over. This next fight is interesting casually because it has kind of a gimmick, which is that instead of linking 2-2-2, the enemies link all like it's a 4-way link. But doesn't really matter, you're not gonna get to use it basically. Like if I didn't tell you that it's the gimmick, you wouldn't even know because we don't really get attacked.
Yeah, the only time we kind of got to see that is during mag fights, which is something similar, but just a follow-up attack instead of a link attack. Oh yeah, the one more thing about these fights, they're capped at 60 FPS.
Wait, the fights are capped at 60 FPS?
Yeah, these all boss fights are capped at 60 FPS.
Why are the fights but not the rest of the game capped at 60 FPS?
I don't know, dude. Questionable programming.
Like, if you weren't here at the start, one of the main issues with this speed game is that the game runs faster at higher FPS. Shin is running the 120 FPS, and that literally means that the game, like, the movement speed is pretty much twice as fast. So, it's really weird to hear that there's some parts that are actually capped, and then some parts that aren't. But this is the end of the game, by which I mean the final boss. We just have to go down one more floor and then we'll be there. The final boss is divided in... well, I'm gonna say 3 phases, it's actually like 2.5. First you have the normal people part, then you have the mech fight, and then you have another mech fight, but that mech fight is solved in like literally, I think it's 3 attacks? 2 attacks plus the finisher.
Oh. Okay. That's all. Off to the final boss fight. I'll have to put some effort in this fight since we have underleveled the classmates.
Yeah. Tauros is still strong, but like I've been saying, well, like I tried to explain earlier, and I think I kinda failed, but also some of chat got my point. Is that the small kids, the new class 7 members, have way less levels than everyone else because the game doesn't auto level them. Well, it does auto level everyone else. So
Yeah,
this
basically,
is
guest characters get auto leveled up while your permanent party members don't.
so this is gonna be the biggest level differential within the game, basically. And the only reason we can actually clear this is because, well, Tauros is good. Also, since this is the last fight, we just kinda use our items like the Serra Capsule there to make it easier to clear. After this, there's a mech fight. The mech fight, as far as I know, is way more manageable. It's a single target, so it's hard for it to get out of hand. You just have to pay attention to what he's doing instead of mashing buttons. Also, on the chest where he's hitting him, balance is 100% on. Like, it's 100% when he's doing the stance. So this fight's actually pretty consistent.
Yeah, most of the time it is consistent. The only inconsistency is sometimes Laura's turn doesn't come up at the end. Also, time is coming up in like 20 seconds.
Yeah, that's pretty much the game. We just have to do one plot mech fight that is literally 3 attacks.
Well, actually, might be a bit longer. The cutscenes still take a while before the fight.
Essentially, now there's a lot of lore going on, and Rain is gonna get really angry, and this guy is gonna die in literally 2 attacks.
Yeah, Rain is really angry. And time.
I'm sure she's dead. Time. Unless they run.
Rain gets to be angry.
I think this is just a 3-hour speed run, so Rain can get angry. That's the entire point of it.
He's already dead, monk ass. But yeah, thanks for watching everyone. Shoutouts to my man, Acred, for helping out with the commentary.
I literally just mimed around. Vehicle Still 4 released on PS4 already. Hoping for the PC release soon. I believe it does have the date. I don't know when it is. I just know it's next year, on the first half.
But yeah, this isn't the good end. The game is technically not over. The continuation is in the other game called Cold Steel 4.
Well, I mean, it's the only end, right? It's not
Yeah.
a good end, but
It's an
not like there's
unfinished
different
game.
paths. It's not like there's different paths.
Yeah, basically the world is doomed. Well, technically Arabonia for now.
消えた。どうなってるんだ。おい、今変な感じがしなかったか。ああ、何か黒いものが駆け抜けていったような。助かったのか。
よかった。
それにしたって。ちくしょう、なんで俺たちがこんな目に。皇帝陛下も撃たれて、あのカレイジャスまで。一体誰がこんなことを。
ですが、今回の件で再認識しました。今回の実行犯の背後にどのような国家が関わっていたのかを。
カルバード共和国、ベルヌ社製、そしてここ数日100名近い共和国人が帝都に潜入していたことも判明しています。
それが意味することは明白である。東の脅威、カルバード共和国による宣戦布告であると。
そうだ、皇太子殿下や宰相が言ってたじゃないか。カルバードの連中だ。ああ、全部奴らの仕業に違いない。
どうしてこんなひどいことを。
叩き潰せ。やられる前に。エレボニアの誇りを踏みにじった奴らを許すな。
なんでよ。みんなどうして。
これはわからぬ。だが何があったんだ。
ランディさん、今のは。
ああ、何かがあったのは間違いねえ。
ガットさん。
大丈夫だ。何があってもお前のことは。始まったか。するとクローはもう後戻りできへんな。ああ、我らの本懐とはいえ。
私たち何に手を貸したんですの。
わからぬ。だがこれ
長きにわたる望み。決まっているじゃない。大いなる黄昏、つまり世界の終わりに手を貸したのさ。
Well, thank you very much to that run by Shinoa from the end with some Trails for Glory, or Legend of Hero Trails for Cold Steel 3. I'm a little tired right now. I'm just jumping in real quick here for Bob. And coming up next, we're going to be passing it off to some quest for...
Oh my god. That moment when you've been talking for 10 minutes, but you had your microphone muted.
Oh, Bob!
Oh, man. I'm so... Oh, boys. Oh.
You hate to say it.
I kinda was expecting, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't mention. I'm sorry.
I've been sitting here talking, and I'm like, why can't they hear me? And I look down, and I'm like, my Discord's not muted. And then I realized I muted myself from my soundboard.
Well, Bob, I'll let you say the outro then. I'll let you back at it.
All right, then. Well, what a fantastic run that was after a few technical hitches early on. It's an absolute pleasure to be here aside Shinoa and Akrid for this run. Thank you very much, gents.
Thank you for having us.
I will say, just a reminder, Crosscode had to be cancelled due to the host not feeling too well. So we're moving straight into Quest for Glory. And that being said, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, in the words of the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, be excellent to each other. Party on non-gender specific honorifics. Take it away, next run.